welcome back everybody to another episode of Banter on the Rocks. Got myself here, Tim. Got John,
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
course, with us.
Yeah.
Uh, Sorry, right off the bat, John, you want to describe the
Uh,
look for today?
yeah, it's a little bit of my emo depressed look. The Ravens. It's still a sore subject to talk about, but they lost yesterday, Sunday against the Bills, and won't say too much about it because I think we have some, we'll talk about it a little bit later. But yeah, it's been a little down day here at the Pineda household.
No, understandably so, and I get it. And on today's episode, we'll certainly be talking a little bit about that in our NFL news and kind of recap of this week of playoff football. And we just had the college football championship, so we'll go over that as well. And NFL news, banter takes, of course, and we'll talk a little bit about some Pokemon cards and some videos we've seen recently that's kind of sparked, some stuff in our eyes. So and pretty much whatever else comes to mind within those topics as well,
Mhm.
because we ramble and
Yes.
we'll get on with it, and they're great topics for today. So excited for that. And before we move forward with the show, just wanted to remind everybody that we are brand ambassadors for Find the Good brand. Find the Good is a company about building a community of people who want to help everybody find the good. I know right now, John's trying to find that good.
Yes.
Rough football loss this
Yes.
this past week. I had to find it a few weeks back. So,
Mhm.
we all go through it, and and that's what they're all about. Each purchase goes 10% to Mental Health of America organization. And if you use our Banter 805 promo code, you'll get 10% off of your purchase as well. So that's 10% for you and 10% for mental health. Remember to use that Banter 805 for that 10%, and they have some great merch. I know
Yes.
I love repping my
Mhm.
sweater. Did it again this weekend.
Yeah.
Uh, John, same exact thing, I know. So,
Yes.
and then moving right along here, we'll go into our drinks of the
Yes.
episode. I will start, and John, just in true fashion, being a little petty here. It's Modelo time. Got a glass of Modelo. You're joining us in Cancun, and I
Yes.
say us because you were the last man standing for the playoffs here.
I
So,
was.
welcome.
I,
Salute to Modelo time here in paradise.
I don't know if I can salute immediately to that one, Tim. It's still a little it hits right there. It hits right there.
Too
Um
soon. Too
a
soon.
little too soon. But yeah, finally get to join you guys in Cabo, Cancun, wherever the crew's at. Um but yeah, today I had to go a bigger cup. It's just been it's been one of those days, weekends. And just doing, you could say, sort of is on the same boat. Orange juice and tequila, just my typical go-to. I would say a lot more tequila than normal. So, cheers to the beach life, Tim, for for the summer.
Cheers. Absolutely welcome.
Yeah,
It's a great stay.
yeah,
Some of us have been here longer than others.
yeah. So, some of you guys have been there, I think, prior to the playoffs. So, you know,
Yeah.
finally, you guys are probably all tanned up and nice and crispy by now. So. Got to work
I
on
just
that
get
tan a little
sunburned.
bit.
Just red. Yeah.
You get all red. But yeah. No, cool.
Absolutely.
But we'll get started with the episode and first we want to take some time to remember Bob Euchre. So Bob passed away, this past week at the age of 90. For those that don't know much about Bob, he did play in the big leagues, but he turned into a broadcaster, and I think that's where he made a lot more memories than when he did play baseball. And on top of sports, for me at least, because as you guys have heard, I'm not the biggest baseball historian, know a bit about it, not too much, but what I remember Bob a lot for was some of his film, debuts and features. And the big one was the Major League movies, always seeing him announcing those movies. So, but yeah, Tim, what do you want to share about Bob? Because I know you probably have a lot more info than I do.
Well, certainly not on his playing career quite as much. That I kind of gathered through just, discussions with my father, with his viewership going back, decades. But I too, much like a lot of folks around our age and, even a little bit older, kind of learned about Bob through Major League, his acting
Hmm.
career. He was on Carson's show, I believe,
Yeah.
over 60 times. And
Right.
just a hilarious guy. He was great for the
Hmm.
game and fantastic announcer and played that role amazingly in
Yeah.
Major League. It's just kind of garnered that, crappy team style and, how he would make one-liners of saying just a bit outside, and the ball was like a half mile off of the home plate. And,
Yes.
like one segment of that, he's getting drunk on the mic and he's like, who cares? Nobody's listening anyways. Or he cussed on it and, he said the same thing. So, but that's just such a small part. And, I actually, I haven't, shame on me, I haven't gotten around to watching it yet, but my father reached out to me and said, be sure to watch the Bob Uecker Hall of Fame speech because
Mhm.
it's a
I
great
heard about it.
speech. And I think, yeah, and he's not the first one to really kind of mention that over the last week. I've seen a
Hmm.
lot of comments on posts about Bob that said, give that speech a watch because it's an incredible one.
Hmm.
And, he brought about a ton of memories. He was great for the game of baseball. And what's
Yeah.
incredible is, an amazing life living all the way up to 90. And even this past season, he was still commentating. So, such an icon. And I believe the last maybe play or home run he announced was a grand slam by Jackson Churio. So what a way to go
Hmm.
out,
Yeah.
with his announcing career and, dedicated fellow. And, definitely want to, say rest in peace, Bob, and thank you so much for all the memories
Hmm.
and, what an icon he was to the game. I guess next closest person would be like a Vin Scully
Hmm.
announcer, John Miller with the Giants is an
Yeah.
icon as well for baseball, but they're one of a kind. And
Yeah.
great memories, no doubt.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that, just because I am a Dodger fan, knew a lot about Vince Scully. Would you put him, I think Vince Scully was always above a lot of them, but I feel like Bob was just around there too, just how memorable his voice, everybody knew who he was, even if you didn't follow, Milwaukee, you knew who Bob was. So do you put him up there at, as high as Vince Scully?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, same exact category. I
Hmm.
strongly believe that he announced for the Brewers like over 50 years. It was an
Hmm.
incredible length of time. He was a player as well. And, one great thing is, unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of Bob, obviously, because he's just out of the network. He's in
Yeah.
the Milwaukee area. We're here in Cali. But, one thing about, just touching on Vin, which I think Bob encapsulated a lot of the same things, was they just have stories for anything. And they're so
Hmm.
quick on their toes. Like Vin, a player would come up to bat, he'd have a stat, he'd have a
Yeah.
storyline regarding that player saying, oh, this so and so player grew up here and, his sibling or his
Hmm.
cousin is this. And
Yeah.
it's unbelievable the length that they go to gather that info.
It is.
And Bob, on the other hand, was just so quick with his comedy. And
Hmm.
it's just absolutely fascinating. And just to listen out quick. And I think that's why he was so amazing when he
Yeah.
went into acting as well. And
Hmm.
he's just one of a kind. So
Yeah.
yeah, storied career and definitely
Hmm.
would put him up there with a guy like Ben.
Yeah. No. Awesome. Yeah. No. Rest in peace to Bob. Like I say, icon gone, but I don't think ever forgotten. Through baseball and even
Mhm.
through movies. So, um, yeah. But we'll continue on with the episode and we'll go into our banter takes. And so this, part of our show is where we each send each other takes, that we're gonna own as our own for as long as we can remember them. Um, yeah,
For
they're
sure.
always, they're great conversation starters with us and even with others. So my take, Shohei Ohtani should remain focused on hitting and only pitch in relief when desperately needed for the remainder of his career. Um, I really do like this take. Shohei, we saw what he did this last year for the Dodgers, coming off Tommy John, didn't pitch at all because of it, but still was hitting home runs and what was a big relief, and big support during the season. And even, not going to say the World Series, because in the World Series he did shy away a little bit, wasn't as a factor, but just being Shohei was a factor, just him going into the box, I think scared a few pitchers, got them nervous. And we're going to talk a little bit about baseball, Dodgers a little later, but the signings we've had this year, I think we could give Otani a break, and if we could continue signing great players to pretty extensive contracts, I don't think we need Otani to pitch as much, you know. If we have a year like we did this last year where it was injury after injury, you know, we lost Dustin May, Kershaw, Bueller was gone for a great amount of time. You know, we just kept on losing our pitchers, and you know, that was one of our struggles in the postseason, but we were able to overcome it as a team, and I think that's because of Otani, his power, um, and just the presence, and I think that team dynamic. So, I think it'd be good. It might have his career last a little longer, and for how much we're paying him, I think we have to do what's best, not just for Otani and his legacy, which I think his legacy is already cemented as a Hall of Famer, but for our future as an organization to, you know, start winning more World Series. I think, you know, we're still a little bit behind. Are we behind the Giants? I think by like one or two.
World Series wise, I think you guys tied it up with
Did we
this
tie it up with
past
this
season,
last
I
one?
believe.
So you know,
I
we
believe
gotta.
so.
I want to take a big leap away from the Giants. You know, I don't want to be too close to
Buy your way
the,
there, why don't you?
those people up north. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the take. Otani, focus on hitting, man. You know, hit those homers. Only pitch when needed, or if we're really desperate for pitchers. But let's focus on that hitting.
Well, take John. And with where, for example, Juan Soto's contract just
Hmm.
went, the con he's worth all the money in the world with
Yeah.
Shohei getting what he's getting now, especially with how much is deferred,
Hmm.
with just his hitting talent.
Yeah.
50-50 year. It's
Hmm.
never been done before. So money's worth it already.
Yeah.
And that's without pitching. So great take. I do think that they would benefit from that. And with all their offseason signings,
Hmm.
here's just a brief glimpse at, their rotation now with Blake Snell, Yamamoto, um, Roki Sasaki, and Tyler Glass now. I mean,
Hmm.
absolutely stacked. And then you guys signed another closer recently,
Hmm.
Tony something
Scott,
or other, I forget his
I
name.
think Scott, I
But
think it is.
Tanner Scott, my bad,
Kind of,
Tanner
yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
And it's just even the relief side, you're
Hmm.
super stacked, and that doesn't even include hitting. So valid take. I like it, John.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has time to
So,
relax.
yeah.
All right. So I have mine. The Detroit Lions window is officially closed. Losing Ben Johnson and soon losing Aaron Glenn, Campbell and all kneecaps he has bitten off will not be enough with the Bears to take over the NFC. Valid, super valid. And, this is kind of my point of, Ben Johnson was such a vital piece to that
Yeah.
organization. I think he really wanted to hold on and try to win something more with them, but I think the writing was on the wall after this
Hmm.
first playoff game for the Lions
Hmm.
exit. It's time. And this is the story of the 49ers as well. We've lost so many, coordinators to
Hmm.
head coaching jobs across the NFL, and it just decimates a team. And with that, it's just learning all new systems, learning coaching types. You can have the same head coach, and that really helps with stability,
Hmm.
but then you're influencing the team with new coordinators, and of course, you kind of split off into sections during practice, and
Yeah.
that can change a lot. So, and who's to say, a lot of the success is, wasn't coming from Aaron Glenn and Ben
Hmm.
Johnson for Dan Campbell. Maybe he was piggybacking them. You never know. I guess we'll
Hmm.
find out.
Yeah.
But we're gonna find out as soon as next season. So, Aaron Glenn, I think he's really close ties to that New York Jets job from what
Yeah.
I've been seeing this past week. So, that seems like a good one. A lot of Detroit Lions fans, I don't think will really be missing him too much. They were kind of hating on him after this past game,
They
and
were.
they were questioning a lot of his decisions. So
Mhm.
that, but one thing I can say about Dan Campbell is, he puts a lot of heart into the team. Everybody seems to love to play for
Hmm.
him. So I think that they'll still be competitive, but I think Ben Johnson going to the Bears makes that a different animal.
Hmm.
It's going to be a tough one. I think you'll make a lot more of that roster, and we'll see if guys like Keenan Allen stick around now
Yeah.
just to see what's up. It's a better offensive mind there now. So
Hmm.
I'm very interested to see, what happens, with the Bears going into next season. We'll see what the Vikings do if they go with
Hmm.
McCarthy or with Darnold. The competition is so stiff in the NFC North. So
Yeah.
let's see.
Yeah. But we'll
What do you
see.
think, John?
I think the same, I like Campbell, great coach, great motivator. But like you mentioned, those coordinators do a lot, and a head coach can only do so much. So I think it's who Dan Campbell brings on, and then it's also who these players connect to. Because if they don't connect the way they do to Ben Johnson, you know, we've seen quarterbacks degress and just go back to the old ways. And Jared Goff, was he was traded there because the Rams couldn't trust him. They wanted Matt Stafford. Goff got Johnson, who really brought up his confidence, I think, along with Dan Campbell, but we'll see who they bring in because if they can't bring in Goff's confidence, they're in a lot of trouble. But yeah,
Absolutely. Super valid.
yeah. So my next take, Call of Duty is officially washed. The lack of listening to their loyal gamers has turned into the fall of the franchise. And I've agreed, I think we've all agreed with this take, not just this last Call of Duty, but the Call of Duties for the last, man, I can't even count. I think since COVID, you know,
Vanguard? Yeah.
Vanguard maybe, and it is, it starts off well. They're doing good, great gameplay. There's always bugs to fix, but then, the fans were always giving feedback, suggestions, what we want to see. And for some reason, they just go the opposite way, you know. Um, I think this last game, what I enjoyed is I don't have to unlock like my attachments to like different weapons because that's one of the things I hated the most, to attach to unlock like a certain scope. I had to use a shotgun, which I normally don't use a shotgun in the game, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't know why you guys did this. And um I think it's just been a lot of repetitive. There's a lot of no lifers that are just ruining the game as well. You, me, our group of friends, we go on there for fun, hang out, talk, but sometimes it just gets so frustrating, so annoying how some of these people that are already master, well, I don't even know what to call them, but master prestige all the way above like 100 levels and have every gun and they're just griefing everybody and just doesn't make the game fun anymore. So I think Call of Duty is on its way out unless they could change a lot of stuff. I think they have to take a play out of some of these other online games like Fortnite, um, Grand Theft Auto, um, Overwatch of just bringing out one game and focusing on that instead of trying to release a game every single year. Because like I said, you're not getting much work in, and it's spending a lot of money and do the Grand Theft Auto way. It's been I don't even know how long, but we're getting the new one hopefully soon. And even though the price for that may be $100, it's going to be $100 well worth it. So you could find
Mhm.
us back on GTA 5 going on. We started doing that, so we might start doing some live streams with Grand Theft Auto, getting ready for the new game, and it's just a lot more funner game, in my opinion.
Completely agree. I think the amount that we laughed over this past weekend in just having fun, we didn't experience with Call of Duty in years.
Yeah.
So I completely agree. I think the fall of Call of Duty has already happened.
Hmm.
It's, I think that their last big announcement was, hey, Verdansk is coming back, but not
Hmm.
till April.
Yeah.
Man, you guys are going to have maybe half of what is already left
Hmm.
to even care about that at this point. They've been asking for it for years. All
Yeah.
the, competitive Warzone players
Hmm.
have been asking for Verdansk for as long as I can remember. So, too little, too late,
Hmm.
honestly.
Yeah.
And, the gameplay I feel like is a bit better in this Call of Duty, in my opinion, but it just lack of updates. There's no new maps really. It's
Hmm.
just kind of blah. And
Yeah.
GTA, going back to that, was really nicely updated.
It was.
There's still great features. There. And then we can update it, and it's what a decade old almost now.
Hmm.
I mean,
Almost.
are we past the decade old on it?
I think
So
so.
it's been yeah, it's a great game. It's a ton of fun. Um, yeah, I just think that's kind of where it's at now. And I was kind of surprised our friend Richie completely deleted the game. Obviously, he didn't
Yeah.
re-download it, but that says something because that guy plays more than I think any of us.
Mhm.
But if he's willing to take a step back on it, I think that
Yeah.
says a lot, at
And-
least for our
and-
friend group. So
yeah, and the way he was laughing yesterday, he was having a lot more fun playing Grand Theft
yeah,
Auto than Modern Warfare ever. So,
absolutely.
Call of Duty, hopefully they get their stuff together because the old ones, when we were a lot younger, classics, great games. But the last few years just been trash after trash. And even though we go back to it, I'm reaching a point where with Grand Theft Auto coming out, I may not reinvest into Call of Duty until I see major changes.
For sure. Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. And another thing that quickly with Call of Duty is like the skill-based matchmaking drives me
Hmm.
absolutely insane. It's you brought up sweaty lobbies. It's
Yeah.
you're playing against master procedures. Here we are, we're full-time workers.
Hmm.
We play, nights on the weekend and we're
Yeah.
just in these lobbies where these people are doing, crazy dives across the map,
Yeah.
like quick scoping. Like, man,
Hmm.
we did that in high school, but now it's like now we're just playing for fun and
Yeah.
it just it makes it not fun for casual
Hmm.
gamers. Like they just need to
Yeah.
separate that out better how they used to. But
Yeah.
yeah, skill based is not good in my
Hmm.
opinion. Hasn't been too fun. Um, moving along here to my next take. The Celtics will repeat as NBA champions. Certainly looked that way after tonight's blowout against my Warriors. Lost by a casual 40. And
Just 40.
we beat them a few years ago, but it looks like we've just flipped poles at this point
Hmm.
because yeah, it's the world's flipped upside down with this matchup. I agree. I just think that overall, I think that Boston just has a complete team.
Hmm.
They're based around Tatum. They had pretty much their whole team is returning,
Hmm.
from their championship last season. So, Porzingis, as long as he can stay healthy, I think Drew Holiday was such an incredible
Yeah.
signing. The Bucks clearly made a mistake letting him walk, or I believe it was a trade, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yeah.
regardless, walk trade doesn't really matter. His defense is incredible, and he just makes such a big difference.
Hmm.
And as far as the East goes, the competition isn't, I feel like, quite as good. You have Miami that's been lackluster. Jimmy
Hmm.
Butler clearly wants out of there. He's
Yeah.
most recently suspended a week for just, I guess, bad conduct within the
Hmm.
team. The 76ers, holy smokes, talk about, load management
Yes.
and, what an effect Embiid load managing has on that team. And it just, what a disaster that is. So, overall, Celtics right now are 30-13 after tonight's
Hmm.
win. They just seem like such a juggernaut in the league.
Hmm.
And as far as like, West Coast teams, even the Warriors don't really have it. And most recently, at least I've seen that we're probably not even going to be making a big move until next offseason.
Hmm.
Cleveland is obviously having a phenomenal season, but that's a new coach, new system. Of course, they're winning a ton during the season,
Hmm.
but playoff time, it's completely different. And
Yeah.
as of right now, I'll still take Boston over them. New York is still a big player. Milwaukee's really turned it around since the beginning of the year, but that's, in my opinion, really about it. Indiana, you can say what you want about them, but I feel like that they kind of got
Hmm.
carried through the playoffs last year just through injuries to their opponents.
Yep.
And, once they faced a real team, it was a blowout.
It was over.
So uh it was over, clearly. And then going out west, OKC is obviously maybe who they face in the finals
Hmm.
this year. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, absolutely incredible player. I think he's going to be an MVP this year. He just so casually puts up 30
Hmm.
plus every single
He
night.
does.
And Denver is another one. I feel like Russell Westbrook looks like Russell Westbrook that we all know. Triple
Yeah.
double machine again. It seems like he's really enjoying the team he's playing with there in Denver.
Hmm.
So good for him. I think that's really cool to see. Obviously, he wasn't really the problem when it came to the Lakers.
Yeah.
And, he's just succeeding. But besides that, Houston's kind of been a surprise. Everybody else has been pretty lackluster out west too.
Hmm.
So honestly, I think Boston just has such an incredible chance to take it. They're going to have maybe an easier step to the finals with that East playoffs, and
Hmm.
it could be a repeat, which I don't know how many folks would be surprised with that because that's just yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like Boston teams just do it. They just
They they
for
they
all the
always find a
history they
way.
have, man.
They find a way. I don't know
Always.
how.
What do you think?
Yeah,
What do you
no,
think,
I,
John?
I, I think the same. Boston looks like the most complete team. The East, there are some tough teams, but like I say, the Bucks, we'll see where they're at. They start off bad. They're on a good streak right now, but Doc Rivers has that, resume of blowing it in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. New York, I've always talked about Tom Thibodeau, not the biggest fan of him, and they started off slow. They're playing really well right now, but we'll see if Cat is the answer that they needed to make this playoff run. And then yeah, Philly just should just give up, trade Embiid, just rebuild around um their rookie that got hurt. I can't place his name, but yeah, he was doing really well before his season-ending
Jared
injury.
McCain.
Yeah, Jordan McCain. He was playing awesome. So build around him. I don't think you build around Embiid. I don't think he's that superstar that they thought and they've been paying for, especially with load management. And then the West, like you mentioned, Denver and OKC, I think are the two toughest opponents for the Celtics. But being that complete team with that playoff experience, I think they could take any team out on the West. So it'll be good. I think the NBA is starting to heat up with NFL sort of ending. I'm also starting to follow a little bit more NBA just because we're here to talk about all sports. So um, it'll be a good season.
Yep. There's always some to talk about with
Yeah,
sports, which
yeah,
is
there always is.
incredible, and that's why we love to talk about it so much.
Hmm.
One quick follow-up question for you, John.
Yeah.
Since we each talked about, the Philly with
Hmm.
76ers. At this point, is Paul George just bad luck to any team he goes to?
I'm I'm gonna have to say yes, just because of what we've seen from all his trades. From Indiana to where do you go? OKC to the Clippers, and now in Philly. They they haven't been performing well. We'll see if Philadelphia makes the playoffs. I think they're on track still to make it, but who knows? And we'll see if he shows up because he's been missing every playoffs. He's healthy, but doesn't do the typical Paul George stuff. So great player. Nothing against Paul George. I like him as a player, but when I hate to sort of put it like this. It's almost like Lamar does great during the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, chokes. And I'm not going to say chokes for Lamar. I
Yeah.
think there was just bad luck and bad decisions and just doesn't show up. So I think that's what Paul George's deficit is he just doesn't show up in the playoffs. Who knows why, if he's just too tired. But yeah, that's my thoughts with Paul George. I don't know about you, Tim.
Yeah, I kind of same pedestal as a guy
Mhm.
like Chris Paul.
Mhm.
But Chris Paul was more injury based.
Yeah.
He just always found a way to get injured in the
Hmm.
playoffs. Paul George is not immune to injuries
Nah.
himself either. But, maybe that's why like a lot of his teams struggle is because he misses so much time.
Hmm.
And he just accumulates such a large contract size, based off of, team salary cap and
Hmm.
things like that. So it's maybe that plays just a huge factor into it all.
Yeah.
As of right now, I'm pretty happy that my Warriors didn't pull the trigger on it,
Pull the trigger.
on a contract with him. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that we kind of stepped back and kind of just looked at it because I had a feeling, with his career, he's getting up there in
Yeah. Hmm.
age and, time's kind of coming about. But yeah, they're 15 and 26 at the moment.
Yeah.
That's just, I think
Yeah.
that's kind of surprising. That's rough.
Yeah.
But hey, they can battle for a 10 seed against Chicago.
Hmm.
But I honestly, as of right now, with Lonzo Ball back, I think Chicago seems like the better team out of the two. But
Yeah.
we'll see. And that's why the NBA is so much fun.
Hmm.
And it's a long season, and we can see what happens, no doubt.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like my Warriors, we're battling for a
Yeah.
10 seed at this point.
Yeah. But no, yeah. But that's our hot takes for today. Like I say, always we do it for fun. I think a lot of the stuff we believe and for a great conversation starter. So anybody has thoughts on our hot takes, let us know. We've had some people push back on us on some past hot takes. I think the Brady one got a good,
Yeah, like
some good ones.
that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, you know.
The
So
Brady one for sure.
yeah, but hey, don't be surprised, everybody. You're gonna see Tom Brady as a coach, and you know he he is an owner, and yeah, owners can't be coaches, but owners also couldn't be broadcasters. And look what Tom Brady's doing. There's stuff around it that they created for Tom Brady to still own some of the Raiders and still make money broadcasting. So they'll do it for Tom Brady. So um,
I agree with you though, John. I do want to back you up on that
yeah,
because yeah, the comments, yeah, there's a bigger picture to
yeah,
just, the clip that was encapsulated. And I don't know if you've seen lately, he's done it his whole career, obviously, but
hmm
when Brady comes in full suit, he's about to commentate a game for
hmm
Fox. He's walking onto the field. He'll say like, "Hi," he'll be smiley.
yeah,
Then he'll walk past that person, and then he just goes like serious.
yeah,
And it's like, dude, that guy's still all game, man. He
hmm
steps on the field, he still keeps that level of just football professionalism about him
hmm
and focus that or it's just a pose for the camera. I don't
hmm
know. But,
Well, who
I
knows?
just think just based off of stories and everything, I feel like that's just Brady.
hmm
And I just don't, I agree. I just don't feel like the ownership portion is enough competitiveness for
hmm
Brady. And I think head coaching would bring back that competitiveness.
hmm
So I wouldn't rule it out, maybe not this year, but
Yeah,
in the future, I could see it happening.
yeah, and like you said, he's a competitor. He has that fire. Commentating great money, but he he has something to prove, I think, and he's proved it with commentary that he's great at it. He could do it, not just Tony Romo, Troy Aikman, all these other past players that are doing it. He knows he could do it. I think he wants to show everybody off and be that coach, and be a good coach, and win some more Super Bowls. And like I mentioned last week, if he could win Super Bowls as a coach, it shows that he was the one that took the Patriots to their dynasty and not Bill Belichick. Nothing against Bill, but it will be a big statement. So don't rule it out. Don't rule out that he's an owner and he can't do it. He's gonna find a way. Roger Goodell will do whatever to make it happen for Brady, just the way he does everything to help Mahomes win. So Roger Goodell, he'll make it happen.
There you go. Yeah, the red pinstripes
hmm
for the refs for sure.
Yeah.
Saw that this
So
last weekend on it too.
yeah,
Yep,
so yeah, but that's our hot takes. Comment, let us know what you guys think. Any other hot takes you guys may have, let us know. Maybe we'll share it in our next episode, give you guys credit, and we'll have that discussion. Um, but
absolutely.
moving along, college football championship, it's Monday today, and we just had the game finish. Ohio State is your champion. And what I will say, not surprised, disappointed because I'm a Notre Dame fan, wanted them to win it, but Ohio State was just the most dominant team on paper, and like I say, it's not a surprise for me. What are your thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, I agree. I think since that Michigan loss, Ohio State is just a different team.
Yeah.
I heard something on the radio today. Maybe I don't know if this is true, but at least what they were discussing was Ryan Day was doing a lot of the offensive play calling,
hmm
or at least maybe the schemes that they were, calling about. But I
Okay.
guess Chip Kelly took a little bit more of a leadership role for the offense, and
hmm
that's maybe what kind of sparked something
hmm
different and throwing downfield using Will Howard to their benefit.
hmm
And, it obviously paid off because that looked like a completely different team
It did.
after Michigan.
Yeah.
It just seemed like maybe they just needed that gut punch,
hmm
and it just turned them into truly what they are.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that team had a ton of talent. Um, Hate to see it for Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame though. I Speaking of Marcus Freeman, my hot take is it's shot dead with Ben Johnson news, and then of course now with
Yes.
the Notre Dame loss. So double whammy. But I think Notre Dame made it a lot further
hmm
than a lot of folks expected
Yeah.
too. So props to them. They
Yeah.
fought hard,
hmm
and that team was truly great. So made it for a fun playoff and final.
Yeah. No, for first half they struggled a bit, but they came back the second half, made it competitive, got close, got within eight. So
Hmm.
kudos to Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman. Yeah, I think we were hoping he was going to win it, then go to Chicago and win one in Chicago. That's not happening. Um, you know, Ryan Day. Would you say this saved Ryan Day's job? And and Michigan, or not Michigan, Ohio State. Do you think this sort of saved their season, even though they still lost to Michigan?
1,000%.
Yeah.
And I'm not closely related to anybody that's an Ohio State
Yeah.
fan. This is all just third party listening to what Ohio State fans talk about. And I think truly, maybe given a good like an early playoff exit, not making the playoff this year, not winning the national championship, I think they wanted out of just Ryan Day. I,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they want anything else to do with him. Just consecutive losses against Michigan. It's a historic rivalry,
Hmm.
and continuing to lose against them, especially with how bad that loss was this year. It's
Hmm.
yeah, the writing was kind of on the wall there. And now, going on, winning it all, I think, yeah, he stays. He's got to
Hmm.
stay. And I think as an Ohio State fan, this is more to build off of because it's gonna,
Hmm.
welcome new recruits. It's going to, continue on with their storied franchise. It's been, a decent amount of time since
Hmm.
Ohio State has won, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's fine. Yep.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it saved him.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think it saved his job. I think he needs to win it again next year, and he needs to beat Michigan. I think if they lose against Michigan next year, which Michigan will be a better team than they were this year, he's in a lot of trouble because I don't know who has trust in him. But along that line, with Ohio State, Will Howard, great game, great college football showing. We're draft stock for him. He is a senior. He hasn't shared if he's going to declare for another year. But if he declares for the draft, where do you think he's going, Tim, round wise?
I think first round at this point, I think he's kind of played himself up to that. He showed a lot. He showed that he is great in
Hmm.
huge games. He won when he needed to.
Hmm.
And yeah, I could see him being first round. I think he gets chosen over a guy like Dylan Gabriel for
Hmm.
sure. I think his stock dropped a lot. There's not even a whole lot of competition,
Hmm.
I feel like, with this QB draft,
Hmm.
in general, besides, Cam Ward and Shadir. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's for the taking. I think it's a great time for him to declare. There's a lot of
Hmm.
teams looking for QBs, backup QBs right now,
Hmm.
and just work to develop. So yeah, I think that he declares. I think he's going to be a first round pick. And
Hmm.
I think this playoff towards the end of the season did it for him. It wasn't
Yeah.
looking like much, but I think he's really proven himself. And it's a great story. I
Hmm.
think that, he seems like a good kid, and just got focused and turned
Yeah.
up. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think he played well. I think he did move up to draft board. I don't think he'll I like you mentioned, there's not many quarterbacks. I think there's two top quarterbacks, and then after that, it sort of falls off. It could be a toss up for whoever, but I think Will Howard put his name in that mix. I see him going probably early second, and I see him maybe going to like the Giants, depending on what they do in the offseason. Um, he reminds me a little bit of Daniel Jones. So, having a younger Daniel Jones that's coming fresh off a win, great confidence. So I could see him, going there. But yeah, I see him going the second round. I think he is above Dylan Gabriel. Gabriel, in the against Ohio State didn't show what he did during the season. And we always knew he was a middle of the pack draft guy. So I think Gabriel could still have a great chance for a big future in the NFL. And with that, Tim, thoughts on the college, playoffs, the college football playoff layout? Did you like it? What would you change if anything? Or.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I think that this college football playoff has been the most exciting college football playoff since USC Texas. I'll throw it out there.
Nice.
It was so boring, and I was so over it watching Alabama, Georgia
Mm.
every single year.
Yeah.
Alabama, Georgia fans, obviously, you're going to feel drastically different about that. But me personally, this was great. It brings me to, kind of like a March Madness feel. I know
Hmm.
we talked about this a few weeks back. This was fun. You get to see
Yeah.
teams like Boise State and Arizona State. You get to learn about all these new players. Scatabo became
Hmm.
huge because of this college football playoff.
Yeah.
We learned a lot more about Ashton Genty even, in the broader scope of things. Obviously,
Hmm.
Genty was having a great season prior to that, but you get all these different storylines. I think that this was fantastic for college football,
Hmm.
and most meaningfully, it's more football.
Hmm.
Who can possibly complain about
Yeah.
more college football? Everybody gets so excited for when it starts in late August,
Hmm.
and we get more of it through like mid-January when it used to end on New Year's.
Hmm.
Man, I
Yeah.
I'm for it. If anything, go ahead and expand it even more if you want. It's great because then we could get teams like Alabama or Miami could have been in it.
Hmm.
It's so much fun. I think
Yeah.
this was a great format, and yeah, if anything, just expand it more. What do you think,
Hmm.
John?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. More football doesn't hurt. Like I say, NIL money. These players probably didn't hate it either because they're getting paid. The schools are getting more money, hosting another game, with players, especially winning. Um, I think the one thing I'd want to sort of see maybe just fixed up a little bit is seating, just because, you know, some of the first round games a little lopsided. Like I said, nothing against SMU, but that game they just struggled. They didn't look like they should have been there. So, find ways to sort of fix the seating a bit, those first week buys. Um, but overall, like you say, I didn't mind it. Enjoyed the football. Love watching college football. And yeah, if they want to expand it, I'm not going to complain about it either.
Yeah, I agree. I think seeding is a problem. Those first
Mhm.
round games were not the best,
Yeah.
but it's kind of what you get. Like why I reference March Madness.
Hmm.
A lot of those
Yeah.
games aren't the best, but then there is that one-off chance
Hmm.
you get a Cinderella story.
Yeah.
So it's something to build off in the future. That's why I say, go ahead and expand it even more because then
Hmm.
you can fix seeding a little bit easier,
Yeah.
maybe have these matchups that maybe are a bit more balanced in the beginning, or at least maybe more fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's the first season of it, and I think that they're onto something great. And it's not that dreadful Alabama Georgia game anymore. So,
Yeah. Oh, for
but
sure.
if I want to watch a matchup like that, I'll just watch the NFL.
Yeah. No, for
They're
sure.
all going to the NFL.
Yeah.
You know,
No.
that's my thing about it. Obviously, there's been historic games with
Mm.
that Tua championship game that
Hmm.
was fun to watch, but it was getting dry.
Hmm.
College football needed change, John.
Yeah. And
NIL's brought about a lot. A lot of people
it
hate it.
has. Yeah, and I think that could be like another topic because I have some thoughts on NIL because, just
Yeah.
quickly, Carson Beck, going to the transfer portal,
Oh, yeah.
going to Miami, a big
Yep.
piece was NIL money, the money he's getting, and it's like these kids are getting treated as professionals, so there should be a little bit more regulation to the NIL money eligibility, like,
Yep.
when you transfer like that, when you can start playing, things like that, there it could be longer conversation we have, but it's just one of the things I've seen. And I think I heard a coach a few months ago sort of share he left college football because the NIL money's just taking over and it's not the same type of environment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big reason why Saban left.
Hmm.
Maybe just ended his career altogether because of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's definitely some I guess deadline stuff they need to
Hmm.
figure out too. There was a big one with Penn State's backup quarterback, I believe,
Mm.
where he entered the portal because he wanted a better opportunity next year. But he
Hmm.
had to enter it before the playoffs started. And I guess
Yeah.
he was a vital part of certain down situations and he
Hmm.
could have been used in the playoff. But because he entered the portable, he became ineligible. And I
Hmm.
think a big reason as to why they needed to do that was because the new semesters start
Yeah.
after December. And it's obviously a conflict.
Hmm.
And, obviously teams that are throwing out all of this NIL money, it then turns into something where, hey, we don't want you to go ahead and get injured for a
Hmm.
team that you're playing for currently when we're
Yeah.
giving you the money. So,
Hmm.
yeah, we'll dive into that more, but I think that is a big topic and I think it would
Hmm.
be a good one to talk about.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, that's college football championship. And then for me, one quick shout out to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I don't know if you saw the
Oh, yeah.
Instagram I sent you, but I
Yes.
saw the prices of concessions. So there's snacks, and gonna point out a few crispy chicken tenders at $6. Um, a whole slice of pizza, a whole 18 slices, $3. Um, Candy, still a little too much, 350, but just those prices, I was sort of happy to see because the way I sort of think of it is a family putting a lot of money for those tickets because I don't think it was a cheap ticket to get into that game. And
No
like I
way.
say, in the future, it's something with me, Vera, and Keanu, I think for us, it's more concerts, but like going to concerts and having affordable snacks and stuff to really make that experience more memorable is gonna go a long way. So kudos to Mercedes-Benz Stadium for making those snacks affordable so everybody could eat, really enjoy their time, especially with those families that took kiddos. Because I know going to some of these stadiums, $10 for a slice of pizza just seems ridiculous.
I completely agree. I think I even sell like a burger and fries for $5.
Hmm.
I mean, come on, that's incredible. And there was the Phoenix Suns owner Matt Ishbia did something similar where I think he made like everything on the menu $2.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. It
Hmm.
gets families back into the stadiums. I think it's great just to even increase attendance altogether because the
Hmm.
NBA is struggling, for example. I just think more teams need to look at it and be a little bit
Hmm.
more intuitive with, hey, it's a fortune to get into games these
Hmm.
days. Let's at least try to accommodate something.
Hmm.
And I especially something like, for example, the championship.
Yeah.
Food cost, if you can reduce that because you're making so much stinking money on advertisements and other things
Yeah.
altogether, it's so worth it. And,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, paying a fortune to get there. And iconically, the Masters is known for this.
Hmm.
Phenomenal food menu. There's some iconic food items on there, but everything is as cheap as it once was
Yeah.
years ago. So that's another thing.
Hmm.
Obviously that's more of like a special invite place, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
And
it
if you
is.
can do that, it'd be great. And
Mhm.
future of this podcast, John, I
Mhm.
would once we become full time with this, because it's going to happen.
It is.
I would love to travel to different ballparks, arenas,
Mhm.
stadiums, and just even do food reviews while we're
Yeah.
there. And it would be great if the cost was a little bit better when we go.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
fantastic. I think it's all great, and I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. Like I said, I wanted to shout out Mercedes-Benz Stadium for doing that. Yeah, like I said, for me, it warms my heart because, like I said, now being a father, it's something I think about in the future when Keanu gets older, to be able to take him to this and not really having to spend thousands of dollars on top of the thousands of dollars, for a championship ticket that I have to spend. So, um, kudos to them. Uh, but yeah, we'll go into the other playoffs we have, and that's the NFL playoffs. So we'll recap what happened this past weekend with some of the games. We'll do a quick recap, and then we'll talk a little bit about the conference championship games that are coming up. But first, Chiefs versus the Texans. What do you think about that game, Tim?
It's just what we expected, right? Bailouts with the refs. What they call helmet to helmet
Mhm.
on that tackle where just the Texans ended up hitting each other and Mahomes slid late
Yeah,
anyways. Oh man, it's and then the Chiefs, do they always just score like between 19 to 23 points? Do they
yeah.
ever score more than that this season? I feel
Not
like
this
that's
season.
what it is every
Mhm.
single game.
Yeah.
And final score, I think, was 23-14, if I'm not mistaken. It's just a lot of what we expected.
Hmm.
Obviously, the Chiefs just know how to win, and they
Hmm.
scheme well. Their clock management is obviously
Hmm.
something that they're masters of. It's a
Hmm.
master class of clock management late in games. Seems like it could be fourth and forever, and Mahomes still finds a way. But we kind of talked about this a lot too, and this is a big point of, where I think the Chiefs are heading in this playoffs. It makes them a little bit scarier. Was them saving Kelsey, and I
Hmm.
think this game proved it. I
Yeah.
mean, the dude just over 100 yards touchdown.
Hmm.
He- They were saving him. I think that's literally what it was,
Yeah.
and he still makes a Pro Bowl during the regular season, but
Mhm.
unbelievable. And then he's fresh. It almost seems like he's just fresh now, John.
Yeah. He looks great. I think that's what they did. I think everybody asked like, "Oh, is this a down year for Kelsey?" And we talked about it a little bit. We thought it was probably them saving him because he is that one X factor for the team. I think without Kelsey, they probably wouldn't have had that great of a game So they need to keep Kelsey healthy because their wide receivers still questionable, even though they have DeAndre Hopkins, he didn't really do too much. Um, their running backs, like I say, Pacheco's coming back from an injury, so not the same guy, but yeah, I I think we were ready for that other team to sort of support them, the Red Stripes, to help the Chiefs. Some of those calls were questionable. Some of those calls we saw in other games this week that didn't get called for other players, not named Patrick Mahomes. So, it's their next game will be a tough one. We'll talk about it a little bit, but nothing new, nothing surprising. I think we both called the Chiefs winning it. I think it was obvious. It was written on paper. So that's the Chiefs. Then we had the Lions and Commanders, and this game I called it. I think I called it my highest scoring game of the week, which it was. Amazing game,
Nailed
and
it.
one thing I didn't know is who was going to win it. And Commanders
Mm.
surprised the Lions. And what are your takes from this game, Tim?
I just think Jaden Daniels is the best rookie of all time at this point.
Mhm.
Yeah, hot take or not, the man is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Some passes he was making, he had one on the run where it just, crazy looking, just like flick throw down to Diami Brown,
Hmm.
who really had a good coming out party too, because he's taking a lot of grief from
Yeah.
Amon-Ra. It's like in your face, man, look who wins. And, I just that team just is, I don't know, man. They're scary. It's the Rams, but better, I
Hmm.
guess. It was kind of like a scary team going to the playoffs,
Hmm.
and then, but how do you contain Jaden Daniels? And I don't
Hmm.
think just teams have figured him out. I don't know if they ever will, but and that's another thing to use to their advantage. We've seen that a lot where, like for example, maybe Jalen Hurts.
Hmm.
Teams figured him out, and then, I'd say this season he's kind of getting bailed out by Saquon, but we'll
Big
touch
one,
base on that. But
yeah.
we'll see what happens with Jaden. But Jaden is such a talent. I mean, so much poise for just
Hmm.
a rookie. He's just doing so much.
Hmm.
That team, that's going to be a really fun NFC East
Hmm.
matchup to make it to the, for the conference
Hmm.
championship. So really excited for that one. That was a great game. Lions big disappointment. I don't know if it's play calling. Jared Goff was throwing into triple coverage. Didn't look
Hmm.
great. That was kind of rough to watch. Um, Run game. Gibbs, he scored, right? Scored a couple
Hmm.
times, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Uh, I don't know. It's just the defense, too many injuries. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that derailed them a bunch. But what do you think, John?
Yeah, great game. Like I said it was going to be the highest scoring game. It was. The defense, I think, is that X factor that hurt the Lions. I think it's 10 injured players and some of their star players too, Hutchinson, McCain,
Aiden.
or McNeil, I think it is, right there in the trenches. So
Yeah, Anzalone was injured for a lot and came
yeah,
back. Yep.
yeah. So there were a lot of injuries, and yeah, Jaden Daniels, best QB or best rookie right now. He's in an elite class with rookies making it to the conference championship. I think we have rookies in our past, franchises that made it. Joe Flacco, Brock Purdy, and he could be one of the first rookies to maybe make it to a Super Bowl. So great game from him. Um, it is a very scary team. It does remind me of the Rams and just a better quarterback and a more mobile quarterback. Because, like I said, I don't think Matt Stafford um, was able to run well. He struggled, and we'll sort of go into it that game, Eagles versus the Rams. That was another game, great game as well. Very snowy game, which I
Yep.
think when we recorded the podcast, we didn't know that. We got that a little bit
Hmm.
closer to the beginning of the or a few days before the game. Um, Rams got close. They came back, which, like I say, it doesn't. It's not a good sign for the Eagles, but I think the Rams needed more support from or the QB was hurt. He struggled a lot, and then the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, I think I've been calling it all season. Not a great QB. Not a lot of trust in him. The snow was a factor. Did look like he might be hurt, so hopefully it isn't a serious injury that's gonna hurt him in this next game. Um, but yeah, like you mentioned a little bit before, Saquon has really bailed him out. Saquon is a beast. Um, the Giants franchise, their owner, Mara, he's probably just cussing Joe Schoen, Brian Dabble out because you let go
Brutal.
one of the best players this season, and if they go to the Super Bowl, if they win a Super Bowl, that's the biggest FU to the New York Giants. So, what were your thoughts of the Eagles Rams?
Yeah, quick thing on Schoen too. I mean, you have Mara probably in one ear saying like "F you, you let Barkley go," and then you have his son in the other
Yeah,
ear saying, "Why the hell did you not draft Jaden Daniels?" That's a t Man, talk about like, hard knocks taking down a
hmm
career. Good Lord.
hmm
It's videos to be played for a lifetime.
Yeah.
But yeah, with this matchup, touching on the snow, it's crazy the difference of the end of the first quarter to the
hmm
beginning of the second quarter and how
Yeah.
much, started to blanket.
It's crazy.
That's playoff football right there, though. That's
That's good.
fun. It's the nitty-gritty. It changes, things, but
hmm
that's what football's all about, is just being
Yes.
out in the elements. No more domes, no more domes. Just
hmm
be out in the elements and have some fun with it.
hmm
But no big deal to Saquon. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just can't remember in the most recently, just a player who beats up on one team specifically, because Saquon's last game against the Rams was, I think,
hmm
240, 250, 60,
Yeah.
70 yards. He just destroyed them, went for 205 on the ground this game, and then 27 through the air. A couple touchdowns, big runs too.
Yeah. Big runs.
And they replayed pre-snap, they replayed where Saquon's looking at Jalen's like, he's telling them something like, "Well, I
Yeah.
like this," and
Yeah.
then he busts out the run.
Yeah.
Super cool. We'll see what happens with Jalen. Jalen had a big run there too. We kind of
Mhm.
touched on this with Jalen though. Just the factor of, have teams figured him out? Let's see
Mhm.
what happens with the Commanders. Maybe this is a matchup that Philly kind of wanted, because I don't think they might match up a bit better against a team like the Commanders than they would have against the Lions, in my
Mhm.
opinion. So we'll see what happens. But the defense for the Phillies came up huge. They
Yeah,
had a
they
big
did.
late game sack with Carter.
Carter,
So
yeah.
yeah, I can see them going to
Mhm.
the Super Bowl, quite honestly,
Yeah.
at this point, but I'd love to see the Commanders and Jaden Daniels, run. So yeah, great game overall. As far as the
Mhm.
Rams go, I'm really interested to see what happens with the future of Cooper Kupp after this game. He
Mhm.
5 catches on 7 targets, 60 yards. They really just haven't used him quite as much as they used to. Obviously, Puka is incredible. Had a great
Yeah.
catch there late in the game too. Stafford balled out, played well. Kyron's doing his thing. Didn't score surprisingly, right? Yeah,
Fumble
no, he
though.
didn't even
Costly
score.
fumble from Kyron.
Yep, costly fumble as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, Cooper Cup. There's post-game
Mhm.
interviews that occurred. Doesn't know what, he doesn't know. He's gonna
Mhm.
have to reevaluate, obviously, this offseason. I think the writing's kind of on the wall. I don't think he comes back. I think he goes
Mhm.
somewhere else. If he wants to come up north to the Niners, I won't complain. I think that's a great destination for him.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I do think that's the end of Cooper Cup there with the Rams.
Mhm.
But great run. Great run
Mhm.
for the Rams. This
Yeah.
is way more than anybody could have predicted for them.
Mhm. Yeah. And the Rams, I think, have a solid future. That defense, Jared Verse,
Oh yeah.
man, that kid right
Oh,
there,
he's a beast.
he's a beast. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of bright spots for the Rams. So we'll see what they do this next offseason. I think they got to get ready for QB, find someone else, and start
Yep.
drafting or, sign one of these QBs on the market. But I think they'll still be a threat depending on what they do this offseason. And yeah, Cooper Cup, yeah, he could be good and, some purple and black as well. We need a little bit of support. He could go, across the
There you
locker
go.
rooms to the Powder Blues, with McConkey.
Hey. Oh
Good
yeah.
duo. So there's a lot of options. A lot of people
Absolutely.
will pick Cooper Cup because he is still an elite wide receiver. A few injuries slowed him down, but you still see a lot of that potential. And then the last game, I'm not going to shy away from it. We don't do that here at Banner on the Rocks. We're always going to talk about everything, good or bad. Um, Ravens
That's
versus
right.
Bills. Ravens versus Bills. What to say is I'm fucking pissed. And that's the first thing. I apologize for the language. Um, it
Let it out, John.
was it was a very tough game to watch. For me, I've heard a lot like who's to blame? Like, is it Lamar? Is it Mark? I think it's a total of many people. I think Lamar will take some of the blame. Two costly turnovers where the whole regular season didn't have much. Mark Andrews, always Mr. Reliable for Lamar, costly fumble, costly drop, 2-point conversion. And then it's also coaching because, we didn't use Derrick Henry at the beginning the way we should have. In the second half, we started running, getting that defense tired, and then we were able to expose them. That's when we were playing great football. And first half, we were behind, and I think we got too desperate, too early on, where we have to stick to what we know. And that's sort of what happened last year, too, against the Chiefs. We were throwing instead of running, and so for me, it's like we have to stick to what we know, and that's where they messed up. So that's sort of on John Harbaugh. So it's a collective amount of people who need to take blame for this. And it's just unfortunate. I hate it because the talk on Lamar, it's a very, very negative right now. Great regular season, sucks in the postseason, and you, I can't say it's inaccurate because he hasn't done anything. Three, most likely it's looking like three MVPs and hasn't made the Super Bowl. Always losing the big games, losing the playoffs. This is two losses to Josh Allen. Um, so really just still pissed off about it. Hate that it happened. I felt like we had a lot. Zay Flowers being hurt, I think also hurt us. So that's why Cooper Cup, you want to come to a great team. You come over, we have another year. It's not, our last, this wasn't our last ride, depending on what we do during the off season. And then the Bills didn't play their best, but they played good enough to win. They ball management, running. Josh Allen protected the ball, no turnovers. We lost a turnover battle, and that's what cost us the game. So that's a little bit about my rant. Don't want to get too um vulgar with it, but yeah.
Well, I do have a couple, well, a few, probably three follow-up questions for you here,
Yeah.
John. But my quick thing just on the matchup, Bills, Bills, Bills. I want to see them win. I want to see
Mhm.
them win it all, honestly, this season. Because if they play Philly, I want to see them beat Philly. But if they play the Commanders, that'll be a little bit more iffy because I'll be rooting for
Yeah.
both sides, kind of. I would be happy either way. But as far as Chiefs go, I really just want them to. Obviously, they
Yeah.
were the team to beat that full squad earlier in the
hmm
season, so would love to see that again. But Bills, 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 happy to see it. Great for Josh Allen, great for the
hmm
rest of the team there. And I think that they're proven that they're more than just falling out of the playoffs. So
Yeah.
final test against the Chiefs. But questions here for you,
hmm
John. Marlon Humphrey, after the game, I know you brought up the fact of how there's another season. He kind of made it seem a little bit more dire than that. Maybe moving on from a few players. What do you think?
Um, I think that's something that always happens. I think the Ravens, we've lost a lot of great players. Last year we lost Patrick Queen, who was a big piece of our linebacking core. He went to the Steelers, and we were able to find replacements. We found, some young players to step up. Kyle Van Noy this year, looked like the younger Kyle Van Noy when he won with the Patriots. So, um, it, the way he sort of put it, it's what every team's going to go through, even, winning teams, that win a Super Bowl. It's the one thing you think about because these players are looking at getting paid, and looking at their next best opportunity. And it's also who else is out there that might be better for our team. Like I say, I think we need wide receiver help. Bateman, resurgence of a year, so kudos to him. Hope we could keep him. Zay Flowers, unfortunately, got hurt that last game of the season. And like I say, I think hurt us a lot. We have Andrews, we have Likely, but we need that one other wide receiver. And I think Cooper Cup could be a good fit, to sort of be like that slot type wide receiver. I've heard Tyreek Hill, but like I said, we have a speedster with Zay Flowers, so but having two speedsters, I don't think would hurt. So, yeah, it's the one thing we always have to worry about. When people are on their last year of the contract. We only get um, franchise tag one person, and we got to make sure we use it wisely. So, it's what we always deal with. We've always been good at finding those replacements and still being a solid team. But yeah, it's the one concern I think we're all going to have.
For sure. Yeah. And, maybe this next question kind of goes in tune with just post-game feelings and
Mm.
frustration of Marlon Humphreys. But I don't know if this was directed at this particular player, but Mark Andrews, I know you said he's coming back. Uh, do you see him coming back, or do you see that the writing might be on the wall with that final catch or not catch?
Um, I think it's just going to depend on what we do during the off season. Um,
Mhm.
Mark Andrews started off slow, but had a great year. He had a lot of touchdowns. Like I say, hey, we thought I likely was going to take over. Mark Andrews didn't let that happen. Um, Costly drops, costly fumble. But like I say, if you look at blaming people for mistakes like that, you're not going to trade Lamar Jackson. Marlon Humphreys had not one of his best years. Are you going to look at getting rid of him? You know, there's a lot of players that struggled. Derrick Henry, didn't play his best game. Does that mean he should get cut? Like, no, it doesn't mean that. But I think a lot of it's going to depend on what we could sign during the off season, and is Mark Andrews possibly one of those casualties that we have to let go to make room for a Cooper Cup? Yeah, it may be so. We have Likely who did show a lot, but I can't say definitive until we see what we do during the offseason.
Sure. And I think one thing I really appreciated from Lamar Jackson was he showed true leadership, I
Mhm.
feel like, after the
Yeah.
game. And, really didn't blame
Hmm.
anybody. He blamed it on, the team altogether and that there was many different reasons as to why
Yeah.
they didn't win. And, I think a lot of people kind of see it that way too. But, and really that catch in hindsight was only to tie the game.
Hmm.
Who's to say what's going to happen after that too?
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens with Andrews. But, go just my final question here, just going back to
Hmm.
Lamar. Your fear level of, is this going to be the story of Lamar having great regular seasons, but just flopping in the playoffs?
I'm gonna give it one more year before I say yes. Like I say,
Okay.
I think we have a solid team. I want to see what we do this offseason. Like I say, Derrick Henry had a way better year than I think everybody expected. I don't think anybody expected him to have 1,900 yards running during the regular season, and be
Hmm.
that beast of a running back he is. And the way he keeps his body healthy, I think he could have maybe not that as great of a year as this year, but a solid year. You know, Keaton Mitchell coming back from his ACL injury last year, did some punt returns, looked explosive. So, and then Justice Hill stepped up this year as well. So we have a great running back core. Um, and I think we have the opportunity to win again, depending on what we do in the offseason. So I think Lamar has another year, maybe two, depending on who we sign, length of contract. But I don't want to say that just yet because he has shown so much. But if I had to make a decision now, yeah, that's the narrative because he hasn't won it. But I think he could change it, and he is the type of quarterback, the type of player that can change it.
No doubt. Yeah, I think he's well on his way to a Hall of Fame career. I think that, just as an outsider, there's not a whole lot like Lamar in this league.
Yeah.
So I think he's shown a lot more with what he can do passing this
Hmm.
season. And I think that there's more elements around him that free him up a bit. I feel like this playoffs overall were a lot better to Lamar
Hmm.
than, for example, last year. So I think that there's a lot to build off of. Obviously, you hope Derrick Henry can probably not repeat what he did this year, but
Hmm.
come close.
Yeah.
And that dude doesn't seem like he's really slowing. So I
Hmm.
think there's a lot to build off of with Baltimore. It's just what can they do once they get to the playoffs. But overall, the Bills were no easy matchup
Hmm.
regardless, especially going there and playing. So
Yeah.
that fun game overall. It's what playoff football is all about.
Hmm.
But, hey, John, welcome.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
pal.
I'm enjoying the sun in Cabo right now. Like I said, it's unfortunate, piss off. Like I said, I've
Yep.
seen a lot of posts. Stavi, I saw his post,
Oh, yeah.
his rant, and I think, kudos to him because that's how not a lot of us Ravens fans are going to post something like that, but that's how we all fucking feel. We feel that way,
Yeah.
angry, and let's bring
Yep.
Joe Flacco back, let's clone him as a youngster because he won us a Super Bowl, be that mentor to
There you go.
Lamar.
That's right. Hey, he's still in the league. Maybe
Mhm.
just having him in the QB room would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Help him get over that hump. That's
Hmm.
maybe not a bad signing to look at.
Yeah.
Just maybe Flacco can end his career over there again.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's something to kind of venture towards. It's a good point.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the games this week. Then we have our conference championships next week. Chiefs versus Bills. What do you think of this matchup, Tim?
Yeah, it's still Bills, Bills, Bills. Let's go. I just, you know, but hey, this goes back to, I hope it doesn't come down to a coin flip again.
Mhm.
Honestly, I
Mhm.
don't. That's what happened. I think it was the last time that they played in KC, right?
Mhm.
Was that the coin flip game
Yeah.
overtime? And it was
Hmm.
just what a hell of a matchup that was.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're definitely in store for that again. A
Hmm.
part of me just really wants to see the Bills because they've shown the capability of putting up 40 plus
Hmm.
points in a game versus the Chiefs not really
Yeah.
doing that this season. I just really want to see them put up crazy amount of points
Hmm.
against the Chiefs and kind of build off of that. I think we'd all like to see it minus KC fans.
Yeah.
But I think a big thing is let's see how that weather is. Obviously,
Hmm.
it's two cold weather teams, which is, beneficial for both. But at the
Hmm.
same time, KC weather, that's a different type of frigid.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of players say that snow makes it almost feel a little bit warmer than just that dry
Hmm.
cold that maybe KC has a little bit more of at
Yeah.
times. Um, so yeah, I'm going for the Bills. I hope the Bills
Hmm.
win. I'll choose a final score of I'll go 38-31. I think it is going to be on the higher scoring
Hmm.
side because I think that's what the Bills are going to have to do to win. But I'll go 38-31 and that will put the Chiefs over the that
Hmm.
23-point hump that I feel like they can never surpass.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, that's what I got. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah. Same. Bills, Bills, Bills. I want to see the Bills win. Like the team, like I say, like Josh Allen, rooted against them just because it was against my Ravens, but I want to see them win. I think they have the team to win. They could score points. Josh Allen, is another, type of Patrick Mahomes, but just a little different. And then that defense, they showed a lot against my Ravens, so I think they could do a lot against the Chiefs because the Chiefs, they don't have a run game as great as the Ravens, so they're going to focus a little bit more on Patrick Mahomes and the passing and just his electricity because Patrick Mahomes is just a whole other type of generational player. Um, and and yeah, we'll see. The weather is going to be a big factor, but I want Bills to win. I want it to be a fair game. Hopefully, there's just two teams on the field, not that third team, supporting the Chiefs. But I have it 31-28 Bills, and I still have the Chiefs under 30. I don't think they're going to score 30 at all this year.
Yeah,
So,
hey, it's one of those years I could see that.
yeah. So, but yeah, that's Chiefs Bills, and then we have Commanders versus Eagles. For me, this is going to be the best game of the week. The highest scoring game as well. Um, both great teams. Eagles, Saquon. I think it's going to do Saquon things. The Commanders, Jaden Daniels, going to do Jaden Daniels things. And like I said, it's going to be a high scoring game. Um, but on paper, I think Eagles win it. In my heart, I want the Commanders to win it.
Yeah, I kind of second that. I think the Eagles defense, just because of the Lions injuries, is more complete at that end. I
Hmm.
think that's going to make a big difference. But again, maybe it helps the Eagles out a bit,
Hmm.
having these divisional matchups earlier in the year, they've had, a sneak peek at what Jaden Daniels is
Hmm.
about, and maybe that'll help them out a little bit. But, on the other end of the ball, you're relying a lot on Saquon.
Yeah.
Gibbs had a great game this past week against that Commanders defense. I think Saquon still goes over 100 for sure, and you know he's probably gonna have a great game. And kind of
Hmm.
like you mentioned, it's almost gonna be Saquon versus Jaden. See what
Hmm.
happens. So um, I'm gonna unfortunately second that. I just think the Eagles are more complete. I think the Commanders have a lot more to build off of, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, I think that this could be the end of the road for the Commanders, even though I just would love to see them
Hmm.
advance. And it would just further that sentiment of, is Jaden Daniels the best rookie of all time?
Hmm.
Yeah, much is to be seen on that because what he's doing is remarkable. But yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting one. I think that's another fun matchup. I think both these matchups are great leading into the Super
Hmm.
Bowl, and it's been a fun playoffs because I don't think a lot of people really had bingo cards of Commanders. For
No.
example, Rams making it this far. So it's been an interesting one to put
Yeah.
it lightly.
Yeah. No. It'll be a good game. I think it's gonna come down to the defense who could stop who. Um, I I think the Commanders could have a better opportunity to not be stopped because they're gonna focus on Jaden Daniels and his throw game. But like I say, Jaden Daniels is that running QB. He's a mobile QB, and they have Austin Eckler who showed old Austin Eckler stuff this last game. Catching and just being electric. Brian Robinson, and then like I say, the X factor for the Eagles for me, Jalen Hurts. What Jalen Hurts are they gonna get? And if they lose it, I think it's going to be a mixture of Jalen Hurts and coaching that loses it. So we'll see. Um, I would want to see them win, the Eagles, just because I think we're both Barstool followers, and who is it? Gibby, the big Philadelphia
Yep.
Eagles fan. It's
And
his videos are
Max as
yeah,
well
yeah,
from PMT.
yeah. So
Yep.
it's like, just seeing some of their videos, gonna be, being at the games. He's been walking out with the Eagles. Seeing him at the Super Bowl, what he's gonna do is just gonna be great content. So, I think we look at stuff that way as well now, being podcasters, doing shows, going into this route. Um, but overall, great game, great playoffs, and I'm excited for this weekend.
Yeah, completely agree. I too kind of think about that. I was thinking about it earlier with PFT being a huge Commanders fan, and
Mhm.
then Max being the Eagle fan as
Yeah.
part of my take. So I think that's going to be a fun one,
Mhm.
and I just would love to be a fly on the wall in that room of
Mhm.
them watching it. So
Yeah, it'll be good.
we'll give a recap of that even. That'd be good.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the playoff recaps, championship week coming up. Great football. Like I said, we're getting close to the end of the NFL season. A little sad, but like I said, there's more sports, just a lot of stuff to talk about. And a little bit of NFL news. We touched on it quite a bit today already. Ben Johnson to the Bears. I think we were both happy with this signing. I think we both would have been happier if it was Freeman, if he would have won the national championship, and then having Freeman go there, win a championship with the Bears, just storybook ending. But Ben Johnson, I think,
Mhm.
is gonna be a great fit there, especially seeing what he's done with Jared Goff. Now doing that with a young Caleb Williams, who has a lot of great skills, and I like your hot take, Tim. The Bears are the team to reckon with in the NFC coming moving forward.
For sure. And maybe this is the year to have that, right? Is maybe I was just 1 year too soon.
Hmm.
Maybe I'll bring it back. Maybe I'll bring it back. And the big thing with the Bears is hopefully Ben Johnson brings consistency to the head
Hmm.
coaching
Yeah.
position. That's what a young QB needs. I think they failed the last couple with um uh what's his face back well obviously Justin Fields, but then you have Trubisky
Trubisky.
before
Hmm.
that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and Peyton Manning kind of talked on it with how you can fail these young QBs early on, and that just is terrible for the rest of their career. And he kind of talked on how Caleb's going on now his, I believe, third offensive
Hmm.
coordinator. or play caller throughout the season. So,
Yeah.
hopefully Ben Johnson brings that. He brings the consistency and obviously a great offensive knowledge. And I think that there's a
Hmm.
lot of good key players with that offense that they can build off of. And, maybe a couple more offseason moves, doing more with that offensive line, I think is probably
Yeah.
a big thing with the Bears because that too has failed Caleb. So
Hmm.
let's see when he gets those and, if he's feeling a little bit more lax. But hey, the people that pranked him, I believe it was a group of kids,
Yeah.
got found Caleb's number somehow and,
Yeah.
messaged him and it became kind of viral of, hey, this is Ben Johnson, got the
Uh,
job, blah, blah, blah. And here we are.
yeah.
So at least Caleb gave a good modest reaction,
Yeah.
for the camera. But yeah, no, it's funny. What do you think, John?
Yeah. I think it's a good pick. I think he's gonna. I hope to see him change the Bears because, like I said, we talk about it a lot. There's some teams that when they're good, it's just good for the sport. It's good for football. The Bears are one of them. You know, there might be some changes they need to make to the front office to make it all happen, but I think Ben Johnson is that first step into the right direction, that consistency, and yeah, like I say, I'm excited about it. I hope they do well. Like I said, I like Caleb. You know, I enjoy watching USC,
Mhm.
so I always watched him in college. Played well. You know, his last year a little disappointing. You know, some of the games, how he reacted, how he acted after. Could have done it differently, but overall, I think he's a great QB. Um, I know all the redrafting, they have him as a third QB going, but I'm like, hey, let that be motivation for you, man. Have that be motivation for
Mhm.
you to show them, like, no, I am the number one pick. Jaden Daniels is amazing, but I'm gonna show you guys why I was the number one pick. So there's a lot of bright spots with the Bears and Ben Johnson there. Um, but any other coaching positions, Tim, that you have thoughts who would be good? You know, I think we talked about Aaron Glenn. I know you said probably the Jets
With the Jets.
is the rumors, but any other thoughts
Yeah.
of anything?
Um, Brady with the Raiders, of course.
Mhm.
At this point, I think Tomlin seems like a lock just to stay with the Steelers. I
Mhm.
don't think anything is going to happen there. Vrabel obviously going to the Pats. I think the writing was on the
That's a
wall
good
with
one.
that one. Um, another one with the Jags. I don't really care who goes. It's going to be my third week in a row ranting on Balky and just, you know, saying something about him. But whoever goes there, whatever coach goes there, needs to convince Shad Khan to find a new GM. Like
Hmm.
that's going to be number one. That's going to be first move once he steps foot on
Yeah.
that facility. But anyways, Jags could be an interesting one. I don't know. You're just locked up so much with Trevor Lawrence. I've hated that contract since the day it was
Hmm.
signed, and I don't I don't know how great of a destination that seems. You have to,
Hmm.
you figure out what you're going to do with Etienne. Kind of a hot mess over there,
Yeah.
but it's a winnable division and maybe one that you
Hmm.
can really work towards
Yeah.
turning around. But then, going back to the Raiders, kind of a thought came to my mind before we jumped on here, John, and this can
Hmm.
be a far-fetched. I don't know if it's a hot take, it's just a random take, but you have a guy like Mike McCarthy still out there.
Hmm.
McCarthy is a guy who he'll give you double-digit wins.
Yeah.
And, the Raiders obviously looking for something, especially in that division. It's a super competitive one. Say what you want about Tubbs. I know we kind of,
Hmm.
make a lot of jokes about him, but he does win. I think he's brought
Hmm.
about better Cowboy teams in the past. So I think the Raiders with McCarthy seems very interesting.
That's a
I'm
good
wondering
one.
how
Hmm.
far that'll go. And, kind of throwing this out there. What if the Raiders bring in McCarthy and then reunite him with Rodgers for a season? I don't know how much Rodgers will do. I don't think the coach that goes to the Jets is going to want to keep Rodgers. I don't know
Hmm.
about that McCarthy Rodgers relationship
Yeah.
anymore, too. But the Raiders are also looking for a QB, and with winning and late in the
Hmm.
season, kind of butchered their opportunity at maybe a
Yeah.
decent one. Maybe they go Will Howard. I don't know.
Hmm.
But it's I don't know, just a thought. I think
Yeah.
McCarthy's an interesting name.
Hmm.
Or Dion.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dion's still out there. Cowboys kind of undesirable with Jerry.
Hmm.
So what do you think, John?
Yeah, that's a pretty good take. I never thought about McCarthy in Las Vegas because I think we talked about it. McCarthy when he starts off on a team, he does well with the team. He takes teams to the playoffs. He's turned around the Cowboys, who were struggling. He took Tony Romo pretty far too. Or was he? No, it was he wasn't with Romo,
No, is
with
that
Dak.
just Dak?
Yeah, just Dak.
Yep.
But still, showing how what money Dak got, it's you have to give some of that credit to McCarthy because he brought in those pieces and with Tubbs, we know he likes the buffet lines, and Las Vegas has a lot of buffets,
Oh,
so he'll have
oh,
a great amount to choose
there's
from.
another one, John. Yeah.
He'll have a great. Heard the win one has some good crab legs, so Mike McCarthy, you go there,
Yeah.
do a review of every single buffet, see which ones you like, and keep on going.
Yeah, your cousin, my brother-in-law, Michael. Last time I was down there for Christmas, he was talking about, I believe it was Caesar Palace's
Oh
buffet.
yeah,
He said, like, oh, have you ever tried it? I'm like, no, last time I went was Bellagio, but I think they did away with that one. But he
yeah,
said, he's like, Caesar's Palace, man. He was eating crab legs nonstop. So
yeah,
that's just another option. You're
yeah.
right. A lot more buffets over there.
hmm
Could work out well.
Could work out well. Yeah, so but yeah, after that I don't have too many thoughts. Like I say, I think for the Jaguars, it needs to be someone that trusts Trevor Lawrence and could see something because they have a solid team with Lawrence, with Brian Thomas, their defense young, decent, Etienne, yeah, but they have Bigsby. There's some decent running backs coming out this year too that you could get in some later rounds that might be, those gems. So needs to be someone that trusts Lawrence, and who knows who would that be. Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And, a big thing too, sorry, because obviously Cowboys hasn't been filled yet either. I've thought about a lot about this one because I did, when I was kind of breaking down some of the clips this past
Mhm,
week, we had a Jerry Jones take that got, a decent amount of views. And, you know, I just feel like I've just been thinking about it, you know, obviously not a fan of the Cowboys. I just feel like Jerry Jones has made that destination just so undesirable.
mhm,
It's you're competing with a guy that is just demands
mhm.
and so much
Controlling.
power within the organization, and he's super controlling.
Mhm,
And you have these great offensive minds there. I believe so I was listening to Dan Patrick show too. Sorry, I'll,
yeah,
I'll make it quick. But
yeah.
like Dan Patrick showed that he had Jason Garrett on, and
Mhm,
he asked Jason Garrett about that Cowboy vacancy and what it's like working with Jerry Jones. And he said, you know, you have to have somebody that can go in there with the expectation that everything isn't going to go your way.
mhm,
And I think that's a really tough pill to swallow
mhm,
for a head coach trying to make a difference in an organization. I think that would bring a lot of frustration,
mhm.
but maybe you find a guy who can handle it. Maybe Dion, I don't think it doesn't seem like
Mhm.
at this point he's going to
No.
take that. He seems pretty situated in Colorado.
Mhm.
So I don't know, man. I don't think that they're going to fetch who
Who they
America's
want?
team, I guess,
Yeah,
would.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I, I don't know,
They're gonna.
Micah. Sorry, pal.
Yeah, no. I think it's gonna be a desperate hire because they need someone, or unless Jerry Jones becomes a head coach and our take of Tom Brady or a, an owner
Yeah.
becoming a coach comes true because Jerry Jones has the power with the NFL to do whatever he wants, and if he wants to do this, he'll do it. So. But yeah, not a desirable location. Like I say, yeah, no state income taxes, but just what Jerry Jones has brought to that team. And like I say, I think we sort of said it in the past multiple times. It's unfortunate, but we have to wait till Jerry Jones leaves and gives up power of the team before there's a change and Dallas could become America's team again with some wins. Because right now it is the Chiefs. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
no doubt. Yeah, it's the child of Goodell. And
hmm
I was actually one last thing too. I
Yeah.
was actually going to give you a hot take today, John,
Yeah.
that Jerry Jones has made the Cowboy head coaching position so undesirable that he's going to go around high school campuses and high school football teams in Texas to recruit the next head coach because that might be where you have to look. I don't know.
You might have to. I think you go to
Yep.
D2 leagues. Someone will just take it. Good paycheck.
Yeah. Big
Get
football
that.
state.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. And then one of the last like NFL things I wanted to bring up today, and it's because we saw it this week, a lot of mobile quarterbacks. But we saw it in the Chiefs game. QB's running and then sliding and getting calls. It's one of those calls for me that I've always hated a little bit. I understand why they do it because you're protecting the QB, but you know, some of these QBs slide so late or try to fake out that they're going to slide, go out of bounds, and then do something for a few more yards. And then if they get hit, there's a flag automatically. And I'm like, there needs to be a way to change it because it's it just isn't fair to some QBs who are sliding or, are doing the same thing and aren't getting calls. Whereas I'm not, I'm gonna say it, Patrick Mahomes gets those calls all the time, during the Ravens Bills, you know, Lamar got hit well out of bounds, Yes, they said that, the defender was in motion of tackling, but it's like if that was Patrick Mahomes, you guys would have been throwing flags. The Chiefs players would have been like beating up on the Bills player. Like it's just not it's not an even playing field. And for me, it's like once you start running and pass, the line of scrimmage, you're free. Like there's no penalties for hitting you, even if you're sliding and it's a little bit of a late hit. It's because you're not sliding on time. You're going for those extra 2 yards and you're expected to be protected. No, this is football. This isn't flag football. Let's go back to the old days.
No doubt. Yeah, I think they need to fix this upcoming offseason. If you're going to be a runner,
Mm,
you're going to be a runner. Prepare
mhm,
to take a hit.
yeah,
It's free game after that. And
mhm,
I think an example of this that was really brought to light was that hit on Trevor Lawrence earlier in the season,
mhm,
where it seemed like a lot of folks were saying like he slid late and there's this zero time to react because if you're a defender, you're
mhm,
going full steam. Like it's so hard, and then what? Like you adjust yourself to sacrifice by jumping over that person's body. You hope your knee doesn't
yeah,
hit them as well.
yeah,
There's a lot that goes into it to try to avoid that call. And you're right. They slide late. You look at Kenny Pickett, who even fakes a
mhm,
slide in
yeah,
college, and then that was an iconic play. It's just, I don't know. It's got to be they got to change it. I
mhm,
think more contact with somebody who makes himself a runner
mhm,
needs to be treated like a running back truly,
yeah,
and they need to do away with it. If they
mhm,
don't like it, then just run out of bounds.
yeah. Or just don't run at all. Like it's like change the
Just don't run
rules
at
so
all.
like if you're gonna run, and you slide, like if you slide a little late, you're gonna get hit. Don't cry about it. Don't be trying to complain about it. Now, if they hit you in the helmet, helmet to helmet, yeah, call the penalty. But a normal hit, like you guys got to take it. That's the NFL. I saw an Instagram post,
Hmm.
and this was like when TikTok sort of went away for 24 hours because all I had was Instagram.
Yeah.
But I saw the post of like QBs almost 10 years ago getting hit like on everything and nothing being called, where nowadays everything's getting called. And it's sort of like with the NBA, like it's just getting a little too soft, not what we're used to. And I don't think NFL will ever lose viewership because I think they really benefit from fantasy and sports betting, but it does hurt the integrity of the game in my point of view.
Yeah. No, refs can be so rough on sports, like umpiring in baseball. Go back to, just the NBA and refs. It makes it unwatchable. Just
Hmm.
all the constant calls and just garbage, flopping, you name it.
Hmm.
NFL's kind of become that too. And, it just seems like the Chiefs always get things going their way. So it's a frustrating
Yeah.
team to watch if you're not a fan of them. But yeah, speaking of which, going to a different sport here, John, and
Hmm.
we'll talk about your Dodgers. Dodger
Yeah.
baseball. Um, obviously they're making a huge splash in off-season signings for the second year in a row. Don't think anybody's surprised on this because it seems like they just have an endless
Hmm.
wheel of money over there. And they most recently signed Roki Sasaki and Tanner Scott over this past weekend. And I want to hear, I guess, your thoughts on these additional signings as a Dodger fan yourself, John.
For me, I'm excited with these signings because we talked about it during this last postseason. Pitching was one of our weaknesses. Our rotation wasn't the strongest, and now some of our players coming back from injury, Roque, having Tanner Scott as a closer, great relief pitching. I think it's looking unstoppable for us. You know, as a Dodger fan, I think we're gonna have a great year. We should, on paper, repeat and be back-to-back champions. But in baseball, it is always hard. But we have the players, we have the signings to do it. Because, like I say, we signed Hernandez, uh, Teoscar Hernandez back again. Like I say, looks like he's going to short or third base. Like Tommy Edman, who was a big piece in the playoffs for us, signed. So we have a good team, and like I said, don't count out the Dodgers yet for signing more people. We got the money; they don't care about the luxury tax, and yeah. But what are your thoughts on the signings, Tim?
It's brutal as a Giants fan. It's just endless. I was you guys obviously took Snell and Conforto from us.
Mhm.
Um, Honestly, I don't really mind those two though. Snell later in his year in his career, and he just either has great seasons or modest
Mhm.
seasons. So we'll see what kind of version you guys get. Obviously, you had a no-hitter with us this past season.
Mhm.
Obviously, the talent's there. It's just let's see how much of that we'll see.
Yeah.
But you guys are literally becoming Team Japan at this point.
Mhm.
You guys are getting every talent. I do think this Sasaki signing is actually being investigated, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken.
Yeah.
Highly doubt anything Manfred will do about it. He'll probably do jack shit about it, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. But yeah, you guys are an absolute juggernaut.
Mhm.
Uh, you guys just have the payroll that it seemed like the
Mhm.
Yankees had, back in the day, where you
Yeah.
guys just had such a stacked lineup, and Yankees had such a stacked lineup back in the day, and would sign these, gigantuan contracts
Mhm.
with, players, and it's just like where's the hell is the money coming from?
Mhm.
And that's what Dodgers are all about now. I do
Yeah.
think that there's still more names out there. I actually dreamed about this one several months ago that we signed Pete Alonso because I've just been dreaming of the Giants getting a big bat, and Pete Alonso would certainly bring that. And
Wait, what?
I did actually read yesterday that he is rumored as a possibility for the
Mhm.
Giants to pursue. So we'll see. We've been rumored to pursue Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Shohei, and nothing's ever happened. So
Yeah.
rumors are rumors, clearly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know where we go from here, John. It's brutal for everybody that's not a Dodger fan.
Yeah, no, and I think that's sort of the follow-up question is, you hear it from all these people, announcers, baseball, analysts. Do you think what the Dodgers are doing is good for baseball?
It's tough to say. The only thing I can really compare it to is like, was LeBron joining the Heat with Chris
Hmm.
Bosh good for the NBA?
Yeah.
It made a team that became a villain that everybody else wants to beat. And
Hmm.
maybe that has a little bit more of a vested interest for a lot of fans, I suppose. But at the same time, it's kind of like disheartening for these other teams that are in the running. Like, for
Hmm.
example, Padre fans that were, I saw a clip of a big Padre fan that, was like, oh yeah, we evidently nailed our visit with Sasaki, and
Yeah.
he's going to be a Padre. And then next day, he signs with the Dodgers.
Suck it.
So exactly. So it's it's just there's it depends on how you look at it.
Hmm.
As a Giants fan, it's disheartening. It's like, oh, you hope for a wild card spot because the Dodgers are probably going to win 120 games. Obviously, that's exaggerated, but you
Yeah.
guys are going to win a lot of games. So, it's yeah, I just think it's kind of tough. It certainly makes the team exciting to watch,
Hmm.
fan or not. It's exciting baseball watching these legendary players team up. I
Yeah.
will say in the World Series, the Dodgers, in my opinion, were a really fun team to watch.
Hmm.
I do really enjoy Freddie Freeman. I
Hmm.
think he's great for baseball. I think he has, he's just seems like an extraordinary human being.
Yeah.
Shohei obviously is one of the most polite baseball players, respects the game tremendously.
Hmm.
So it's not like the players are douchers about it.
Hmm.
Everybody's pretty nice, and it seems like it's just for the love of the game, and they're just
Yeah.
kind of taking advantage of their big bags.
Yeah.
What do you think,
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, like I said, as a Dodger fan, I'm gonna say no. I don't think it's bad for baseball. I think it's good for baseball, but
Uh-huh.
I try to put myself, in another team's shoes, like, when the Yankees were doing it, and you feel like it is bad, but like you mentioned, I think what makes it great for baseball is it's hard to win in the postseason in baseball. You have to be on a streak. The hottest teams usually go far. The year before this, we saw that, Arizona made it to the postseason and they had a great run. Dodgers, we've had great teams the last decade, you could say, and this is our second, World Series. So, you know, seeing teams beat the Dodgers, it's what everybody wants. And once you see it, you guys are like, everybody's gonna be like, this is great for baseball. You see the big team lose. So I don't, I think it's good for baseball. Like I say, they're doing it. They have the money. Other teams could try to do it. I know some teams don't do it because the luxury tax is just a lot, once you pass that threshold. So, but no, I think it's good. And one of the questions I had for you, Tim, because like I said, baseball a lot more. Would a salary cap change this and just put everybody in a even playing field in your mind?
Absolutely. 1,000%. And the biggest teams I think of are small markets. Kansas City Royals,
Mhm.
Tampa Bay Rays. You have even a team like, I guess, Minnesota. Um, Cincinnati. You have smaller markets, and this would truly benefit those teams because they're missing out on a lot.
Mhm.
Those teams rely on drafting really well
Mhm.
and developing from their farm system, and then paying a very small handful of players a large sum of money.
Mhm.
So, and then they lose out on a lot. A lot of times, they'll lose out on, for the Royals, for example. I feel like the history of the Royals is they could be super competitive with drafting really well,
Mhm.
but then those players disperse and go elsewhere for larger
Mhm.
contracts, and then they'll get to the end of their career and then they just come back
Mhm.
and finish off their career because that's when the Royals can afford them again and bring them back just to end their career there based
Mhm.
off of what memories they created.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you run into a lot of that, and I think a salary cap would bring about a lot more, I guess,
Mhm.
divisional competitiveness and, maybe even give a bigger advantage to those teams that already draft well and rely on that
Mhm.
a lot. So,
Yeah.
yeah, from that aspect, I don't know if that's good for baseball necessarily. At this point, I don't know what is really good for
Mhm.
baseball. I can tell you one thing, what's not good for baseball is just losing this, the small game of things, bunting,
Yeah.
a strategic placement of hitting the ball, and everybody's just going for a home
Mhm.
run and hitting well below 200.
Yeah.
That's boring to watch. It's not fun. So,
Mhm.
there's a few things that they need to change before, even salary caps. But
Yeah.
yeah, not just my opinion.
Okay.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, I see it both ways. I think it could be good because, like you said, the small market teams could, have a chance to sign a big name player. But I also think it'd be tough because, like I say, in baseball, there's a lot more players, so either a salary cap
Hmm.
has to be a lot larger or it's going to be less payment for players, and I think that's where it still won't matter much because these players are going to go to the big markets because you're going to rely on basically NIL money, sponsorships, advertisements, and going to LA compared to Kansas City, most players are going to take a pay cut to go to LA because they're going to know they got Netflix, they got all these sports companies. There's so many companies
Hmm.
here that are going to pay them money, you know, and make up that
Absolutely.
difference. So I think it'll be very hard to change baseball. I think it might take many more years to find a change, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I think for the short term, a team like the Dodgers, it brings a lot more fandom, and probably when they go to other ballparks, it's going to bring a lot more fans out than any other
Yeah.
team because of the players that you're going there to watch.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
for
I,
sure.
I can't say for firsthand example, Giants Dodgers, I went to a game last season. Park was packed.
Hmm.
To be honest with you, I wasn't there. I was there to watch the Giants win, but There's not really that many players on the Giants I was there to
Hmm.
watch. It was more
Yeah.
like, oh, let me go see Shohei,
Yeah.
play or, you name it.
That's
So
what it is.
yeah, it will come down to that. And
Hmm.
that's, I
Yeah.
think, the biggest benefit to a team like the Dodgers.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then one thing I wanted to sort of ask you, get your thoughts. Um, 2025 Hall of Fame voting ballots out. I was gonna read through the names and just get a yes or no if you
Oh yeah.
feel they deserve. But we'll start Bobby Abreu.
Ooh, was he a roid guy though?
He might have been.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember. All I remember, biggest thing about Bobby Abreu was he was an incredible hitter, and then he competed in the home run derby and hit a quadrillion home runs, and then he just couldn't hit another one after that. It's almost like it completely gassed him out the rest of his career, and that was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I remember with Bobby Abreu was
Yeah.
after the home run derby he couldn't do jack shit.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think so. I don't think
No.
Bobby is
Okay.
in.
Car
I'd have to look up his stats, but that's just
yeah.
off the top of my head.
Yeah. Carlos Beltran.
No, he's a cheater with the
Mark.
Astros.
Yeah. Mark Bueller. Bueller.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Storied White Sox pitcher.
Hmm.
God, I'd have to look up his stats. I great lefty pitcher.
Like I
Um,
said, just off the top of your head. Like I said, we could go over it more in details another day. But I saw this and I was like, let me
yeah.
just have a
Top
quick
of my
run through.
head. No.
No. Carlos Gonzalez.
Oh, dude, I have a big bias for Carlos Gonzalez. So sorry, quick story
Yeah.
on him. He has next Ken Griffey Jr. has a slight edge in my opinion on this,
Hmm.
and maybe Barry. But Carlos Gonzalez's left-handed swing is one of the most smoothest swings in baseball history. If you go watch any highlight of Carlos
Okay.
Beltran, there's not one swing that looks bad from Carlos
Carlos
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez. Yeah.
He was incredible. And in my closet right now, maybe I'll wear it next pod in support of Carlos Gonzalez getting into the Hall of Fame, which I don't think he will. But I think he should because when we called him up in our
Mhm.
for the because I was an avid Oakland A's fan growing
Yeah.
up, I had to make a custom jersey for Carlos
Oh,
Gonzalez when he was on the A's, and because they just didn't have his name printed yet, so
yeah.
I made a custom jersey for him. I still have that jersey in my closet
Okay.
for Carlos Gonzalez because I knew he was going to be a big time,
Yeah.
and I'll wear it next week though.
Okay.
He was amazing player. I
So
don't think he gets in, but a
yeah,
bias.
you're
Love to
like
see him
in
there.
your heart, yes, but in
Yes.
reality, probably
Correct.
not.
Sorry, that was a long story,
Yeah.
but yes.
No, all good. Curtis Granderson.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. One of the best leadoff
Yeah.
power hitters
Yeah.
of all time.
Felix Hernandez.
Absolutely. Instantly,
Yeah.
yes. 100%
Tori
Hall of Famer.
Tori
Yep.
Hunter.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Absolutely.
Andrew Jones.
No. Oh,
Ian
Andrew
Kinsler.
Jones, yes.
Andrew Jones. Okay. Ian Kinsler.
Yes.
Russell Martin.
No for Kinsler. Great power hitter though from second base.
Yeah.
Russell Martin,
Yeah.
really good storied catcher, obviously, as a Dodger fan.
Yeah.
He's up there. I don't know if he gets in though. I don't
Yeah.
I don't think so. But great hitter for the Dodgers when he's coming up.
Yeah. Brian McCann.
Ooh, great catcher. Mm, no.
Dustin Pedroia.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thousand percent.
Andy Pettit. Petit T.
Uh yes, but no, because steroids.
I'm sorry. Hanley
He's a
Ramirez.
Reuter. Ooh, hand ram. He was fun. He was fun. As a Dodger fan.
Yeah,
Um, wasn't he busted for roids too?
I think so. I would have to
Yeah,
look there.
I think that roids is such a big thing,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And Barry's not even in. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna say no to everybody who took roids.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. Hand ram, he was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
He was like the follow-up to Manny with the Red Sox. Baggy
Okay.
clothing, power
Yeah.
hitter, in the infield. Yeah. Obviously Manny's outfielder, but no, he's not gonna make it.
Manny Ramirez.
Nope. Roids. Otherwise, yes.
Yeah.
He was so much fun.
Fernando Rodney.
Great closer.
Huh.
E I'd have to look up his stats. Probably yes, because
Okay.
he was one of the best closers of all time.
Alex Rodriguez.
No, unfortunately not. Roids.
Yeah,
That's a big thing.
that's a big one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but 699 home runs. I mean, he
yeah,
was so much fun to watch. Great swing. Another
yeah.
great swing.
No, yeah, great, great play. Francisco Rodriguez.
Okay, Rod. Yeah, but I think another Reuter, right? I
Yeah, I
think he
think
took
so.
Roids late in his career. But yeah, K-Rod with the Angels back in the day. He's the guy who
Hmm.
took down the Giants.
Yeah.
With the Angels way back when.
Yeah.
Great closer, but no.
Jimmy Rollins.
Ooh, that's a good one. I think he could. I
Yeah.
think he could because he had so many great All-Star years and
Mhm.
great memorable shortstop
Yeah.
for Philly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's in.
Yeah.
He
And
was
he did
top of
it
the
in
league for a
yeah.
while.
Yeah. And he did it in multiple teams too. I remember him in LA for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
CC Sabathia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think
Ichiro?
he roided. He just
No.
lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Ichiro,
Ozempic.
oh God, yeah. Ichiro. Yeah, it was epic. Yeah, pretty much. I think he's an avid golfer now too.
Yeah.
He made a crap ton of money in his career,
Hmm.
CC
He
Sabathia.
did.
Yeah, no, he's in such a good lefty. And
Yeah.
I loved watching him because he'd like have his hat slightly tilted to the
Yeah.
side. He just had so
It
much
was,
swagger on the mound.
yeah.
He was great, man.
It was
He's a
awesome.
big dude. Yeah. CC was fun. And what a
Yeah.
great baseball pitcher name, CC
Yeah.
Sabathia.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's in. And what was the next one? Sorry.
Ichiro Suzuki.
Oh God, yeah,
Yeah.
instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's 1,000%.
Troy Tulowitzki. That's
Ooh, he had so many good years in Colorado,
mhm.
but did he benefit from Colorado with all those
Yeah.
with just the elements there and it's easy to hit a
Yeah.
home run? He was so good. I don't
Mhm.
think he makes it in though.
Yeah. Chase Utley.
Ooh, dirty slick guy.
Yeah.
Um, he might. He might. Mets fans love him.
Yeah.
Just kidding. They absolutely hate that guy. Uh, yeah, I think
Yeah.
Chase Utley could make it in.
Yeah. He got solid seasons. Omar Vizquel. I don't know who that is.
Omar Vizquel, yeah, no, great fielder. One of the best fielders of all time. Shortstop, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not
he
sure.
played for
It
the
doesn't give me
Giants
much
for a
on my
bit.
little
Yeah,
list.
no, he played for the Giants for a bit. Yeah, no, based off of his fielding, I think he has a good shot.
Okay.
One
Billy
of the best fielders
Wagner.
of all time. Billy Wagner. No, no, I think he was a big stolen base guy, if I remember right. Yeah.
Oh,
No, I don't
okay.
think Billy Wagner.
All right. David Wright.
Ooh, yeah, Mets third baseman.
Hmm.
Um, ooh, that's tough. Sorry, Billy Wagner. No, he was a pitcher. My bad. He had a lot of saves. I was thinking of another Wagner. He might make it in. But yeah, oh my God. Yeah. Sorry, what was this name again? Sorry, I
David
got
Wright.
sidetracked. David Wright. Yes. God, his years in New York were so good.
Hmm.
I just don't know if the longevity was I could say, yeah. Yeah, I think David Wright's in. He had so many great years.
Hmm.
I think he's for sure in the Mets Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He has a
And the
good
last
chance.
one. Last one is Ben Zobrist.
Ooh, won it with the Cubs. He's not in. He's not in. But man, that guy's dealt with some off the field things with his wife. I won't get into that, but yeah, that crosses my mind. I think she cheated on him,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, no, he was a pivotal part of
Mhm.
the Cubs World Series.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so
But
that was the
yeah,
list.
I don't think he's in.
Like I say, I saw it today and I was like, oh, let me just test him. Let me see what he thinks just off the top of your head. Like I say, I think it's another conversation for another day, going
Yeah.
through their records and their stats and sort of seeing who. And then also, I think, like I say, I only had the names. I don't know who's first timer, who's been on the list for a bit. Like I say, like you mentioned, we have to look at
Yep.
who dealt with steroids. Because yeah, if
Yeah.
they're have touched it or associated with it, if Barry Bonds isn't in it, they shouldn't be in it.
No, no, that's the figure right there. Even Roger Clemens.
Yeah.
If they're not in, nobody else who roided should ever be in.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, Barry should be in.
Yeah.
That's my Giants bias, but
He
roids
should be.
can't do what he did.
Yeah. There's a
Yeah,
market.
roids can't do what he did.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, but that's baseball. Like I say, Tim's our resident baseball guy. I know my Dodgers and a little bit looking into it a lot more. Um, but
Mhm.
yeah, and then one of the last things I sort of wanted to bring up is there. We're also like to collect. We have a buddy who does, or two friends who do a lot of Pokemon card collecting, and recently,
Mhm.
this past week, Pokemon released their Prismatic Evolution sets along with the Blooming Waters collection at Costco. And, I brought it up to Tim and shared a few videos because on TikTok, Instagram, anywhere you see, there's a lot of videos of people going crazy and even fighting for these cards, and even at Costco, you see them taking like one of the whole pallets of whatever amount of, cards there are. And just what are your thoughts, Tim, on these videos you have seen, and how do you feel this sort of affects the hobby?
It's for adults to act the way that they are in those videos, it's embarrassing.
Mhm.
That's so embarrassing. They're throwing elbows against each other for what's made out to be a child's hobby. I mean, it's
Mhm.
turned into a lot more, honestly. And for collectors, because we grew up with it prominently,
Mhm.
but you and I, like, we're not going and wrestling people
No.
for cards. That's
Yeah.
just ridiculous. Like, I'd rather pay second market and pay a little bit more. And
Yeah.
I don't even know how much they're even reselling it or how much they're even gaining
Mhm.
off of it. You go on eBay, you obviously have to pay a lot of fees there. Like, the margins can't be that great that you have to go to Costco and throw some
Mhm.
elbows. Like,
Yeah.
it's just downright embarrassing, and it's not good. Like, say like like you show up with your son, I show up with my kiddos, in you're just waiting patiently for a
Mhm.
chance at, a box because you want to enjoy the hobby with them.
Yeah.
And then you see a bunch of grown adults setting a bad example, wrestling each other for the boxes.
Mhm.
It's not a good
Yeah.
look. I think it's really bad and embarrassing. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I'm the same. I think it's not a good look. Like why adults are doing this over cards that are yes, or they could be worth thousands of dollars. But, the paper they're made out of is probably like $5 for all those cards that they just made. And it's like, you know,
Hmm.
I understand the resale market because, we deal with it. You can see my shoes behind there. I've dealt with some shoes reselling, but like I say, the shoes I've always gotten, I don't go fighting for them. If I win them, I win them. If I don't, I don't. And for me, it's more about the hobby. Like I enjoy pulling, opening packs, the thrill of it, and I think we mentioned it even for our kids, it's a great hobby to have because it takes you out of the streets. It's something safer than doing other things and seeing this, resellers, it makes it expensive for us, especially if our kiddos are into it. And it's also, it isn't what it's about, Yes, let's make some money, but don't go crazy over it, because like I say, how would if I would, Keanu or your kiddo got a box and then someone tried to wrestle them for it. It's like, are you guys really gonna take this box away from a kid just because you're trying to make an extra $20? Like, are you guys fucking serious? Like, no, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous, So, um, I think we talked about it a little bit in the past. It does hurt the hobby. I think when we did it for fun. We just enjoyed collecting the cards, showing them off, not really about
Mhm.
reselling. I still, open up boxes anytime I find some. If I have the funds, I'll buy a box, open it up, and most of the time I don't get too much, but every now and then, you get lucky, and it's just what makes a hobby fun for me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's that big mystery, right?
Yeah.
Of, hey, what's in this pack? What could be?
Hmm.
It's kind of like playing the lottery. It's but at least, in the lottery, it's win or nothing. But at
Yeah.
least with this, you can have some good consolation
Hmm.
prizes, lesser value cards. But, for example, we've had Fidel on,
Hmm.
on the pod this past week. He goes and buys a mosaic pack from, I believe, Walmart, Target,
Yeah.
and ended up with a Jaden Daniels refractor that I
Yeah.
think is worth upwards $300
Yeah.
graded. So, you can have big hits.
Hmm.
Daniel recently had, a big hit with an Otani tops
Hmm.
card. You
Yeah.
know, that's what's fun, and they didn't have to go wrestle anybody for a
Hmm.
box. Like, it's just an
Yeah.
enjoyable process, and it just doesn't have to be like that. That's
Hmm.
just, I don't know. It's a big bummer because again, this is something that you want. It's a healthy hobby, like you
Hmm.
said. And, you know, it- oftentimes you bring your kid to go buy some cards and then you witness that. Like,
Yeah.
come on, be a grown adult. And then I even heard, I know one of the Tech Talks you sent me, it
Hmm.
looked like maybe Walmart, CVS, I forget where it looked like, and they're all just kind of standing there. And then they all go rummaging for it immediately, start like getting
Yeah.
like armfuls. And then you hear a lady in the background, I think it was like, oh my God, like, it's like that's ridiculous. And hey, me too,
Yeah.
lady.
Hmm.
It is ridiculous. Like, but watch, it's going to turn into something where, like, for example, Costco does because they've done this in the past where they're
Hmm.
like two per
Yeah.
customer and have it be an orderly line.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think Costco recently did do that with their
Good.
release that it's an orderly line. It's like two, they get their tickets and then you just pick it up and go. And I think that's the way it should be, not just letting it be a free for all because it's like it's dangerous. It's not fun. It doesn't make the hobby fun. I know resellers are gonna hate it because they can't camp out and get 20 boxes, stuff like that. But it's like, dude, like if you're doing this for a livelihood, like it's not the most ideal one because, like I said, it's supposed to be a hobby, you know.
Yep.
Card stores, I have nothing against them because, like I said, they go through like manufacturers to get their boxes, and if they don't get boxes,
Hmm.
yeah, they have to buy secondhand and then, yeah, they have to sell for a little bit more, but it's a little different than resellers going out and seeing these videos. So, um, like I say, I hope there's some changes to this hobby because, like I say, it's a hobby I enjoy still. Like I say, I don't buy as much now because everything's pretty much empty, nowadays that I go. But
Yeah.
it was just
Uh,
some funny videos to watch, and I was like, man, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's embarrassing. And another thing is too, like we saw it with the Eagles fan, for example, what
Hmm.
the
Oh
terrible
yeah.
things he was saying to the Packer fan. The guy lost his job over it.
Hmm.
You're in one of these videos wrestling customers for a
Hmm.
Pokemon box. You're
Yeah.
starting a fight. Imagine that gets around to your
Hmm.
employer. Same exact thing. You act like a
Yeah.
clown in public. I mean, hey, there's going to be consequences with
Yeah.
today's technology. It's going to
Yeah.
happen. So, let's be adults. Let's
Hmm.
set a good example for the kids. Obviously, this was all of once our hobby
Hmm.
of collecting, and it still is. I set up something new up there. I have a couple
Yeah.
cards displayed. Those I didn't have to wrestle for. They were pre-graded, and I bought them
Yeah.
on eBay auctions for
Yeah.
a good price, in my opinion. I think that one actually I got with Pristine, but with
Yeah.
the Cepeda card. But again, things like that, you don't have the stress. You have
Yeah.
the stress against going against somebody online, but just know your limits. And yeah, you don't have to go in public and wrestle people. So
Yeah.
embarrassing overall, and there's better ways to do it.
Hmm.
It's supposed to be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun. And you mentioned the Eagles fan, and sort of a follow-up
Hmm.
question and just conversation. Do you feel like you're not going to see that type of behavior as much probably now because of social media, seeing that has happened so many times? Because this isn't the first time someone loses their job over rants like this, not just at football games, but just in public overall. Like, do you think there's going to be a lot of people that are like, okay, I gotta behave more in public, even though, it's that type of environment? Because, like I said, I've seen all these videos and I'm like, first of all, like, I would never act that way. Like, I'd be making, jokes. I think we've dealt with it at Dodger games, but we've never been that extreme where I'm like, man, I might lose my job over this shit. Like, do you think it'll change a bit?
Yeah, no. Like me for one, like I'll give you a couple examples of where I have fun with it. Where, I'll start off with the Dodger game.
Hmm.
I was at a Dodger game and it was Dodgers Giants. We're sitting in the bleachers. I was there when all Giants gear, obviously that you're
Yeah.
going to take some
Yeah.
slander and things being said. But that just comes with the territory. I've done it a couple different times, but on one occasion, one guy wanted to fight us. We were just sitting there watching the game, and one guy wanted to fight us. He's like, "Hey, us four versus you two." It's like, no, man, that's not what we're
Uh,
here for.
yeah,
We can be competitive and make jokes about our teams, but
yeah,
I'm not here to fight you. Like, no
yeah,
thanks. And then another time was we were leaving the bleachers. I think Giants were down 1-0 in the eighth, and we're like, kind of a boring game. Let's get going. But on my way out, because everybody was chirping me, booing me when we were standing up, or I think at that point they were like kind of cheering and booing because we were leaving.
yeah,
And my petty ass, I
yeah,
took my Giants hat off. And I did like one little circle with it, like, hey, go Giants, blah, blah, blah. And then I was filming it too, but like kind of like pointed down more because I didn't want to, film at people, but like
yeah,
just for the volume. And you could tell in the video when I had my hat lifted off, and then the boos got even louder.
yeah,
It went up decibels.
yeah.
But that's fun banter.
Mhm,
Nobody's hurting me. I'm not hurting them. It's just fun back and
mhm,
forth, kind of banter.
yeah.
And another thing was like last time I was at a Niners game. It's been a while, and they were playing against like Carolina, and that was back when Cam Newton was still there.
Okay.
And somebody was wearing a Cam Newton jersey, and he was going through his Liz Frank injury.
Oh,
And I was like,
okay.
uh-oh, it's Frank, and he wasn't playing. And the kid actually looked at me and started cracking up about it. So it was kind of funny. But
Yeah,
like, obviously I'm not rooting for injuries, but
yeah.
like, it's a kind of a
That,
funny name of a
that-
of an injury. But that's it.
yeah. That's
It's
that
playful
friendly
banter.
banter that we discuss here, our banter on the rocks. We do it all the
Yeah,
time with each other. I think we maybe go a little bit more, but we know we could take it, We
sure.
know what limits
Yeah.
to have. And yeah, for me, when I see that, I'm like, man, you guys got to start behaving better in public, especially these like professionals, because like I said, the age of social media, this age of technology nowadays, you're not going to get away with anything, that's out there in public. And like I say,
Yep.
if it's going to cost you, it's not just going to cost your career, it's going to cost your future. Because like I say, everybody's going to have that video, you know?
Oh, yeah, and it gets passed around so stinking quickly. Like
Yeah.
that video was passed around so fast
Yeah.
after that, and dude didn't even have a chance to leave the stadium before he was fired,
No.
probably.
Yeah,
And then they went
probably.
on his bosses went on the news and kind of backed up their company and what they're about.
Hmm.
And I think, they did a great job saving face, and they were super
Yeah.
professional about it. They handled what had to be handled.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, liquid courage brings about, like all in all, John,
Hmm.
when it comes down to it, drinking, aka liquid courage
Yeah.
it'll keep happening, unfortunately.
Hmm.
I think Philly is just one of those prominent places we all
Yeah.
hear about where in your best interest, even if you're cheering for the rival
Hmm.
team, you just go in plain clothes instead and just
Yeah.
gently cheer.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. And people act crazy,
Hmm.
no matter where you are. Costco wrestling for
Hmm.
Pokemon cards or football game,
Hmm. Yeah.
calling you just absolutely obscene, disgusting things. So,
Yeah.
um, liquid courage.
Yeah, no, yeah, like I said, we enjoy our liquid. We're not here to do it for courage. We enjoy to just have it. Like I said, we're not
Yeah.
getting, too much of it. But yeah,
No,
it was interesting because I saw that. I was like, man, that just sucks. But I'm like, but I've seen it happen so much, and it's like, when are people gonna learn? Because like I say, for me, after the first few, I'm like, okay, now I know. I never was that way. Like I said, I'm always a shy, quiet person, even with liquid courage. Like I'm not brave enough to do that at games, probably like you, just because I'm like, I just don't want to start anything. But it's like those that do, like, you have to sort of, for me at least, I process it. But I'm like, man, you guys got to start thinking about the future because like you make one mistake, it could screw up your future for a long time.
absolutely. Yeah. No, and it's definitely delivery too. If you say it like really angry and blah
Yeah.
blah blah, but when I was just anything, just have fun with it, laugh,
Hmm.
sports is fun. It's
Yeah.
it's not life or death. It's just it's a fun thing and it's that's all it's got to be.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. But yeah, hey, just at sporting events these days, I'm all about the food, man. Like every
That's
my
what I'm
very
there.
first stop when I go into yeah, hey, you told me about the quesadilla
Yeah.
at Intuit. Man, I've been dying to try that. I want to
Yeah.
go try it. And then, my thing is the crab sandwiches at Giants
Hmm.
games. That's
Yeah.
my very first
That'd be.
stop. It's not for anything but that crab
Yeah.
sandwich. So,
Yeah.
that should be the focus. Playful
Hmm.
banter.
Yeah.
Sports is competitive, of
Yeah.
course, but
And having a good time,
just have
making
fun.
memories. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
For
course.
sure. But yeah. But yeah, but that's that's our episode today. Thank you for everybody who joined us today listening. If you haven't subscribed to YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. Subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, hit that follow button just to get alerts when we post our new episodes. But yeah, and also leave your comments, your thoughts on our takes, any takes you guys have for us that we could discuss. You never know.
Mhm.
We might shout out some of your takes, some of your comments, in future episodes because, like I say, we read them all, we respond to all of them, and we enjoy it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The commentary and replies back to us is means everything to us. We get excited when we see it.
Yeah.
I'll screenshot stuff and text John and be like, "Hey man, check it out. We got a comment on this topic, blah blah blah." And we've shouted out a couple usernames in the past. I think it was regarding maybe the Brock Purdy topic.
Hmm.
But we love to see it. We love to see it.
Yeah.
Don't be shy. Kind of like John said, you know, we can be shy in many moments, but hey, this whole podcast
Mm.
altogether is just really kind of brought out this different energetic,
Yeah.
spirit, and don't hesitate, man. Like we're just
Yeah.
we're like everybody else.
Yeah.
We're talking about stuff we love, and
Yeah.
please,
And having a good time doing it. So, yeah, join
that's
us,
right.
you guys. Enjoy it. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the episodes. But yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tim. Always great time. Like I say, we
Thank you,
we
John.
spent a long time here, but it doesn't seem that long, when we're
No,
having these fun conversations. So thank you. Hopefully you had a great birthday. I know we celebrated it early the last
it was
episode.
incredible.
Good
I
time.
didn't have to work, so
Yeah.
that's the best day spent with the family, and that's what
Yeah.
mattered most. So yeah, it was a ton of
Yeah.
fun, ton of fun.
Nice. No, yes, for sure. But yeah, thank you everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the playoffs, enjoy sports, enjoy life, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you.